Eyes wide, I got one chance. No sleep till I'm enhanced. Fight hard and keep my stance. Knuckle up, time to buckle up. I got one shot and I won't stop. One goal for the joyride. I'm a champion. Move aside.
Okay. Are you kidding me? Taking over the game.
What am I watching? They might just be doing it.
He's a god. He's a god.
Yeah.
Oh!
Full force, I'm unleashed, so don't speak. Grandmaster, don't sleep. Victory, it tastes so sweet. Knuckle up, time to buckle up. I got one shot and I won't stop. One goal for the joyride. I'm a champion. Move aside. Let's go.
Welcome to the Watchpoint pre-show presented by State Farm. I'm Zoe Schwind, and with me here on the desk are Jonathan Reinforce, Larson, Scott, Costa, Kennedy, and Danny Got Lucky Lim. That's right. That's where we are.
Got lucky.
Rude.
We'll see about that. We'll see if I'm lucky or if it's skill. Today. Watch out.
Today. Today's gonna...
Today's gonna... You see me? I'll prove to you that wasn't luck. Maybe.
All right.
I don't know.
I love it. I love
Can't
it.
wait for this.
Coming in with confidence. I mean, you have to rock up with some alpha energy after Reinforce already shut you down in our little chit chat before the show.
Unreal.
We talked about coffee. And
Danny
Danny
said that his the way to do his coffee is to have it black coffee with a ton of hazelnut syrup.
Not tons, guys. No. Americano. Iced Americano with 3 pumps of hazelnut syrup, guys. That's cool.
Why don't you just
Try
drink
it.
hazelnut
Give it a
syrup?
try.
Like,
Unreal.
why are you even bothering with the coffee at that point?
Yeah.
Well,
Like, you can't
you need
taste the coffee
caffeine.
after that.
Everyone needs caffeine and sugar, okay? I need my
Okay,
sugar.
there we go. That's the word
Not
of
a
the Sunday.
PSA.
But actually,
Not a
it's
PSA.
Friday.
Hey, just
Yeah, we're not. Like, that's his opinion. We're not standing for that. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's just move on. Let's talk about what we've already had happening on the Overwatch League broadcast last week. Because quite frankly, week 1 was about as exciting as it gets. We had a lot of great action happening on the servers, and wowza, that we have some upsets. Here are the current standings for the Western region of the May Melee Qualifiers. Once more, a reminder that all the teams will play 4 qualifier matches leading up to that tournament, so every match matters. Now, the Florida Mayhem, Toronto Defiant, as well as the Houston Outlaws are currently undefeated. That's right, you can trust your eyes, it actually happened in week 1. Now, the Dallas and San Francisco, shockingly, well done, Riders, well done. Only have 1 point with Atlanta and Vancouver and the Gladiators winless currently. Now, that's after 2 matches being played. And the reason why the Shock aren't at the top, well, they messed with Texas, Houston in particular. Now, Danny, you just knew, didn't you?
I did. Well, to be honest, to be frank with you all, I mean, it wasn't the script. I literally just read, the Houston wins.
I don't think you're supposed to tell them that, Danny.
Oh.
Danny. Yeah, moving on. Yeah, I think the Houston Outlaws played really well. Off the back of like Happy, Django, Piggy, all great additions to this team. They don't look like the, bottom tier Houston Outlaws that we're used to seeing, unfortunately, over the last few years. But we also need to note, San Francisco Shock fans, if you are there, don't panic yet. You always lose to the Los Angeles Gladiators in the first couple of weeks, or a Los Angeles team for that to be mentioned. So, don't panic. I'm sure they'll bounce back. They always do.
So really what you're saying is this is lazy script writing. We just copy-pasted. Okay,
Legitimately.
well, in that case. Now, the other big upset last weekend was the Chengdu Hunters, who were shutting down the Shanghai Dragons. Now, if that doesn't make you excited, well, here's the thing, right? Everyone picked the Shanghai Dragons as one, if not the top team, not just in the Eastern region, but potentially in the entire league. And they fell flat. They lost against the Hunters 3-0. Now, of course, the big question is that the Dragons not playing well, or is Chengdu just that good?
I mean, if you ask the fans, they're like, yeah, Chengdu's amazing. Like they're almost like the best team in the league. But pump the brakes a little bit, okay? Shanghai Dragons, not their finest series, not their finest moments. They probably haven't looked this bad in like a year. I can't remember last season them ever looking this bad. This was a really bad series from the Shanghai Dragons. They came out on Eikemalde. They looked like they've never played a Reinhardt competition in their life. We went over to Gibraltar. DM was inting, just feeding his brains out. It was incredible. But the same token, Chengdu Hunters, yes, they're upgraded this season. Gaga on main tank is a huge difference for this Chengdu Hunters team. And then we saw multiple other bodies perform magic in that series for the Chengdu Hunters. Monk came in on flex support as well, did a really good job. So multiple players standing out for the Chengdu Hunters. This is a good team in the APAC region, and they can beat all of those teams in the APAC region on the right day. But the Shanghai Dragons, they did not look like the Shanghai Dragons of past seasons. So they have to step it up a little bit in matches to come.
All right, well, let's see if they can do it. I mean, again, this was just 1 week, right? Now, keep in mind that not every team has even played as of right now, but here are the most up-to-date power rankings powered by Watson. And after our first week of matches, let's take a look at those team rankings first. Reinforce, you're our rankings guy. Is this a big surprise for you?
Well, no, it isn't a big surprise when you take into account what power rankings with IBM Watson actually does with all those statistics, the match data, etc. If you win, you're naturally going to rise in the standings and be pretty high up there. The Chengdu Hunters, of course, they had a nice win last week against the LA Valiant and that 3-0 win against the Shanghai Dragons. So they're going to be on top because of how dominant they were. Florida Mayhem as well, Toronto Defiant, both of these teams got 3-0 or 2-0 wins last week rather. So they're naturally going to be on top. But if you take a look at the rest of the rankings, Guangzhou Charge below the Los Angeles Valiant. Maybe something we wouldn't have expected going into the season. So some interesting results in the team rankings after week 1.
Yeah, I think.
So let's.
Sorry, I do want to hit on the Charge. I am sorry because the Charge, I think, were the biggest disappointment. And there was the Gladiators played last weekend as well. So that's saying a lot. Like the Charge just really didn't come out with any firepower, no cohesion. So I'm expecting to see more of them coming into their future matches, as Johnny said, because they aren't that bad. They have some good pieces. I expect more from them. Hopefully they can turn around.
Yeah, I think once the metas have settled and every team knows what to expect from the other teams coming into this, it might switch. It might look very, very different then onwards. Now, let's take a look at the player rankings because, wow, shocker. If your team does really well, your players will be all the way on the top of those player rankings. Walk us through this, Costa.
Yeah, so we see some interesting storylines. Obviously, the Chengdu Hunters players are all at the top. Jinmu at number 1. Fans are loving it. But the ones that stand out for me is Lastro at number 4. Obviously, Toronto Defiant had a great weekend, but Lastro at the forefront of that. I also want to give a special shout out to Crimzo as well. Number 18, probably an underrated flex support that exists in this league, but everyone always talks about all the other players that came from the Houston Outlaws that resulted in that win for the Shock, but Crimzo deserves more credit. He played in a phenomenal series, and I'm excited to see more of him and him come out of his shell and prove that he can be up there with the best, like he said last week.
Now, week 2 of the 2021 season is about to kick things off with the Paris Eternal taking on the Vancouver Titans. But first, I want to take a trip down memory lane. Let's live, or rather relive, just how amazing the Houston Outlaws upset against the San Francisco Shock really was.
Do you guys believe in miracles? Because I surely do. Let's go for Houston Outlaws, baby.
God,
Let's go.
no.
Houston,
I will not stand for this, Danny.
Woo!
The prophecy is true.
These two teams really feel like there's some serious history. But Super's looking for the MTD. Instead, he's the one that gets the MTD.
I got shot here.
Super absolutely furious, and San Francisco shell-shocked. Happy with a nasty off angle, puts so much pressure on the Shock, it forces them to play inside of a shoebox here on point A. Happy, the menace. Was that the bunny hop shadow attempt from Super? He gets 4 with that, absolutely disgusting. San Francisco able to hold on here, and we have a draw in our second map. The Outlaws, of course, they have Jake coming in at support. Oh,
beautiful
my.
play.
You love to see it. Jake Lyon, take a bow. That's about all she wrote. The Outlaws deliver a stunning suplex to the Shock here on Dorado. Houston looking to end the series now. And Happy strikes once more. He is doing it all right now, this man. 3 kills from Happy and a 4. No one can stop him. 5 kills to put San Francisco 6 feet under. San Francisco, again, digging their heels in. And San Francisco Shock hold on, and I mean it only just. Everything we love about the Overwatch League is on display right now.
That's going to be a flash.
Oh my God! San Francisco could be in the midst of one of the greatest comebacks we have ever seen. I cannot believe this! San Francisco, they're forcing a decided map. What is this? The Outlaws now, I mean, To say they're sweating is putting it lightly. Absolute bullets. And overtime keeps going. The Outlaws can't touch. Oh no! No more opportunities, no more second chances. The Shock, they have one fight to repeat the reverse sweep. Chengdu Hunters.
If this works.
Oh my God! The Outlaws have done it! We thought they'd be forced the Kings to bend the knee! The Outlaws reign supreme!
Let's go. Good job, everyone.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back to Watchpoint. It's already been an interesting start to the league, with some teams giving their fans a lot of, hope going forward. And others, well, let's just say they make their fans reach for their copium. So here's a new segment, which, quite frankly, I'm very surprised got approved. It's Hopium or Copium. So let's start off with you, Danny. Maybe the luckiest or the smartest man here on the desk. Houston Outlaws went 2-0 in their first week. Were their fans up, hoping or coping?
I mean, it would be a little weird if they're copium right now when they're 2-0 right now. I mean, they beat the Shock, they beat the Fuel. They are definitely hopium. A lot of hopium. Very a lot. Very much hopium that they are very happy. A lot of hopium makes you okay, I probably should have said that. Hey, whatever. But I'm gonna talk about Happy. Alright, so Happy currently has the highest final blows, eliminations, and hero damage. Not only that, he is ranked number 2 for best single map final blow rates on Ilios in his match against Atlas Fuel. Happy is currently ranked 4th best DPS on power rankings, powered by Watson as well. So definitely, Houston Outlaws definitely proved us that they're a force to be reckoned with. And even with that, alongside that, they also have a strong tank duo, Django and Piggy. And with that, I feel like Houston this year could be, they could really pop off.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. They looked phenomenal. Lots of great individual performances across the board on their team. Now, if we're looking at the other end of the spectrum, LA Gladiators. They're sitting at 0-2. Reinforce, hopium or copium for the Gladiators fans?
Woof. I mean, Sad Eaters, 0-2. It's got to be copium for me. I mean, this is a lineup that coming into the season, people were like, oh, this might be the #1 team in the power rankings. They're really good right now. And I understand that. When you look at the team on paper, fantastic individual skill. Backline of Moth and Shu, bringing in Muse to play alongside Space. I get it, okay? On paper, fantastic lineup. But last week, they looked like a bunch of amateurs. The game plans just weren't there. They couldn't execute to the strengths of the compositions. They weren't on the same page. We saw multiple times that Fuse went in, trying to go for dives, while his backline was sitting back. They wanted to take a passive, a slow approach. Space was a bit all over the place because he's trying to protect Muse, but he's also trying to peel for Shu. He's also trying to peel for Birdring. So the game plan for the LA Gladiators definitely wasn't there last weekend. Then again, this is a team that should be one of the best teams in the North American West region. So I am looking forward to seeing more from the LA Gladiators. They should be a top team this year, but right now it's not looking too strong. Go back to the fundamentals, back to the basics, and then go from there and expand your aggressiveness, your volatility, and go for some of those hero plays. But for now, right now, back to the fundamentals for me with the LA Gladiators.
Well, and Shanghai Dragons, they got Chengdu last week. Should Shanghai fans be on that hopium or copium? Where are you at?
You have to be on the copium if you're a Shanghai Dragons fan at this point. It just very weird looks from a Shanghai Dragons team that was just so dominant last season, especially in the regular season. We saw a lot of weird looks. We saw DM coming back into the lineup just like last year. It wasn't having any long-term success. They just don't seem to have that firepower when Lip's not in the lineup. But on top of that, just the hero choices. We had Fate really forcing the Wrecking Ball, and they wanted to play that Briggs Zen style, but unfortunately, just didn't work. And then we had Fate just switching to a Winston without an Ana, so he's just diving in and pretty much feeding, if I'm being honest, because he doesn't have that support from the rest of his team because they're not playing the right heroes. It wasn't even like massive mechanical failure from these great players. It was just teamwork, cohesion, and just not playing the right heroes, which at this level, from the Shanghai Dragons, we expect better. So hit the copium a little bit, and then hopefully they'll turn it back around in these coming weekends.
Some good medical advice here from the desk. Now, I want to talk about the Chengdu Hunters, right? Because I feel like the Chengdu fans, they smell like Chengdupium right now. That's right. Jinmu is coming off of that week one with the highest win rate across the board. He's currently sitting on that #1 spot in the power rankings powered by Watson. And when I'm saying he has the highest teamfight win rate, I mean the highest, above 72%. So that's actually insanity. Now, their new main tank, Gaga, he snatched that 2nd spot in the power rankings, and he looked fantastic. Like, we all loved the Chengdu Hunters last season because of, just doing Eamon things with that ball, but Gaga's ball is actually even better. And he's bringing more flexibility as he's actually able to play other tanks as well. Now, overall, the Chengdu Hunters just look good. Obviously, they're on the top of the league right now. They're dominating. They dominated the Dragons. And I'm buying into it. Honestly, I'm buying into it. I am living in that Chengdu zone. I rented an apartment there, looking to buy right now. Wow. The property there is like, no, it's good. It's good stuff.
That's impressive.
I'm very committed.
That's a lot.
Very committed. That's a lot. I commit fully. I don't go halfsies on anything. Now, speaking to fully committing, our fans always fully commit. They always fully commit to the teams they're cheering on. So we want to talk about our first match of the day, which is, of course, the Paris Eternal taking on the Vancouver Titans. And we want to know what the word on the street is. That's right. We're going to take a look at the fans themselves. So first up, from Vancouver, British Columbia, we have a Titans fan standing by. His name is Jacques. Jacques, tell us about your team's chances today.
Hello? Can you guys hear me? Okay. Hi, Zoe. Okay, alright, so in Vancouver, we have a proud sports tradition. We've got the Vancouver Canucks. We've got the Vancouver Grizzly. Not Grizzly, okay, never mind. Scratch that. The Canucks. Right. And Vancouver also has a hell of an Overwatch League team. The 2019 Vancouver Titans ran over the league all year and were dominant. And let's just not talk about the 2020 season. Big Sag. But it's a new year for Vancouver and for Titan fans everywhere, anywhere in this world. Vancouver has amazing local cuisines, and we've also got fried wiener. Zoe, do you like fried wiener?
I mean, who doesn't?
Right? Everyone loves fried wiener. Vancouver is a beautiful city, and we've got a beautiful team. Return of the force of nature, baby. Vancouver will be the new champs of the El Clasico.
Well, you heard it here first. Thank you so much, Jacques. That was enlightening. Now, let's head on over to La Ville Lumière. Another fan is joining me, and his name is... also Jacques. Interesting. Well, this is Jacques from Paris. Please tell us in your unbiased opinion why the Eternal will win their match today.
Oui, merci beaucoup. You may not recognize my French accent, I'm from a small village in the north of France called Sweden. Or am I actually a Swede in a Swedish village called France? You will never know. France, as you may know, is where all the history comes from, and Overwatch is no exception. We've seen some phenomenal French players, from AKM to Nico to Soon, perhaps a bit too soon, Poco, and we got the Eternals, homegrown own player in Suna, facing up against his former team. Now, this Paris team might not be a work of art. The Louvre is right behind me, I should know. The French did invent art, after all. But I can tell you, the new Paris Eternal battle cry, we are not 12th. We're not the 12th. We owned the Titans twice last year, and the Eternal will prove once again that they are the cock of the walk. Fialou, which you uncultured might not know, quote Americans, means let there be light. Paris will shine today.
Wow. That was crazy, Shock. You spoke the entire thing with your nose. There was not even a mouth in there.
Impressive.
That was
Honestly, very impressive.
Some real, yeah,
Wow.
that was very impressive. You know, other people do that whole like Tommy speaking thingy. He did it with his nose. Insane scenes coming at us from Paris. Well, thanks to both of those Shocks, and I think we're about ready to head into that first match of the day in just a moment. However, first we're gonna head into a very quick break, so don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile.
Welcome back. Our first match between the Vancouver Titans and the Paris Eternal is starting in just a bit. So let's talk about this upcoming match, because the Titans, they did drop both of their matchups in week 1. Now, Eternal coming in, still a mystery. We don't know what to expect from them, but I'm pretty sure the Paris Eternal did their homework. So what can they expect to see from the Vancouver Titans today, Costa?
Yeah, we saw a bunch of different looks from the Vancouver Titans last week. They were willing to play pretty much everything. They played the double bubble, they played the brawl. If I'm the Paris Eternal though, I just come in and play our own game. We expect them to really thrive in the brawl side of playing it, have them on the Reinhardt, play that Lucio, really run at them. The map pool isn't great for them. There is Gibraltar in this, so I'm a little curious to see how they're going to play and if we're going to see different looks, or if they're just going to stick to their guns, stick to what they're great at, and then go against Vancouver that they're pretty sure they know how to beat them at.
I mean, we'll see, right? I think the meme about EU teams is a little bit like, oh, you play Reinhardt, you know, you do fun things. And we did see a lot of Reinhardt coming out from Paris Eternal in the preseason tournaments, right? So we've actually seen some of those VODs. But that being said, I think there are a few players on the Paris Eternal that could play a mean hit scan and Senjata type of composition and really be powerful with that. So I wouldn't count Paris Eternal out when they're playing those Winston compositions either. That being said, we are seeing a lot of Reinhardt maps in the pool today for this match, so I'm expecting good things from the Paris Eternal in this series.
Okay, you guys keep on saying that. Like, we're expecting good things from Paris Eternal. Like, what do we even know about the Paris Eternal? Like, are you buying into Scrimbox? Like, where is that information coming from? Hit me up.
Well,
and why didn't you share that information with me?
It's not great, Paris Eternal, but I mean, looking past that, I just think that this is a talented team. Of course, you got Neptuno in there as well, a bit of a leadership figure. Khan is, people are talking about as a really volatile flex support player that can output a lot of damage, and that could be really helpful when you're trying to play these hit scan compositions. So I think there are a lot of talent on this roster. They just have to put it together. The tank line is the big question mark to me, if that is going to work out in the Overwatch League. But I do think there is talent here, and I think going up against the Vancouver Titans, this is a brilliant first match to really prove yourself that you can play against some of the Overwatch League competition.
I'm a little bit surprised, honestly. I thought you're gonna hype up the tank line now, given that a fellow Swedish person's in there, Elivote. I thought you were gonna up him up your boat. No, nothing. Wow. Okay, no support there. Reinforce. That's
You've
rough.
changed, man. You've changed. It's weird.
Yeah, you used to pick teams based on them being from either Sweden or not.
That's not
The end.
true. No,
I mean,
did
I
you
am
last year?
always intellectually just accurate and honest. What are you talking
Okay,
about?
sure. Let's go with that. Well, speaking of, no, actually, I have zero transitions to this one. But I want to talk about pick'ems, right? So before we pick our, or rather before we make our predictions for this match, I want to cordially invite all of you to join in on the fun and maybe win $500 bills. We pay it out in $1 bills. I don't know if that's true, but we might. So there's that. Go to pick'em.com, pick'em.overwatchleague.com, sorry about that, for your chance to win those 500 big ones. And of course, you can also grab this beautiful statue of May. Now, for our predictions.
Wow.
This one is tough, honestly. We've only seen 1 week of playing, so some of those teams we haven't seen at all. So I'm very interested to hear where we're going with this one. Let's actually start on the other side this time around. Reinforce, Paris or Vancouver? Who's going to bring it home?
I'm going with the Paris Eternal for this one.
No,
I think the maps really play into Paris Eternal's favor here. Vancouver Titans, they didn't impress me that much last week, especially when they were playing those random compositions. The win condition for Vancouver Titans, in my mind, is actually Lynx are playing and playing some of those hit scan heroes. That's how they will navigate around the Paris Eternal. But I think the maps play into Paris Eternal's favor, and I have them winning this one.
Right.
Did you flip it just so I can't listen to Danny? Because I'm really shook after last weekend. So I don't really. I do agree with Johnny though. I think I'm going to give it to the Paris Eternal. I don't think Vancouver Titans really impressed me last weekend, and I think the Paris Eternal have a lot of momentum. They have a lot of drive, and as Johnny said, they have a lot of great veteran players and a lot of just great players on their roster. I think they're going to get the edge. I do hope to see different looks from them and not just the Brawlbox.
All right. I'm honestly a little surprised here so far. Danny, where are you going?
All right. So, I mean, y'all are speculating right now, right? Because we haven't seen the Paris Eternal. Like, I want to believe my own eyes. And I honestly think Vancouver didn't look that bad, you know?
We lost,
like,
Johnny. We lost.
Oh,
and
no.
honestly,
We're in trouble.
like, I would rather believe my own very eyes and what I've seen from the gameplay. So I'm going with Vancouver Titans.
That's right.
That's a
My
problem.
man, Danny. I like this because I too did predict the Vancouver Titans. I agree with you, Danny. I think they didn't look that bad. They had some really good performances by individual players. I think Fire did really well. He had some standout moments on his Lucio there to really like showcase some great coordination and teamwork. And overall, I just believe in the likes of Lynxer and I haven't seen anything from the Paris Eternal. My heart wants them to win, given that they're my neighboring country, right? But if I'm looking at it historically, every time I go with my heart, it just never goes that way. Exhibit A, all my past relationships. So I just honestly have to go with the head here, go with the Vancouver Titans. Shout out to all my exes, right? But I'm picking the Titans here as well.
Okay.
Good. Well, let's actually, we have a little bit more time before the matches are starting, so I want to take a look at our picks as well for the second match of today, and I want to see where we're going with this one. LA Gladiators will go up against the London Spitfires. LA currently 0-2. London Spitfire, we haven't seen a thing. So,
See you
there we
later.
go.
Johnny,
Jonathan. Jonathan, middle name Larson. What are you doing?
Okay.
What are you doing?
Yeah, okay, on paper, the LA Gladiators, you know, the better team. Tons of individual skill on that roster. Probably better, like, almost like man for man in every role. The thing about the Lone Spitfire, though, okay? They're not a stupid team. They're not dumb. They know how to play the game of Overwatch.
We didn't say
These
they
are
were
smart
stupid.
people. They can bring out some incredible compositions. They'll play the game the right way. And I think that will ultimately conquer the individual skill on the LA Gladiators. The LA Gladiators are struggling right now. I think the Lone Spitfire will capitalize on that and actually walk away with a win here.
That's right.
LA needs this, man. LA needs this.
Well, I don't know.
LA needs this.
We're gonna be all up in your grill for this one for sure. However, if it turns out that London Spitfire are actually gonna rock up and win this, then obviously you're a genius.
I got a haircut on the line.
Actually, also true. And also, you ruined my transition. I had this beautiful setup for Bren and Sideshow, but I guess we just toss it over like this. Yeah, we have Sideshow and his prime waifu Bren joining us here for this first cast. Guys, how are we feeling about our predictions here on the guest?
That entire death segment was a fever dream. I have just stepped into a fever dream. It was going all sorts of directions. I also noticed that this is where Danny really peels away from the rest of you as well, you know, with his predictions, I think, you know, as Custer and Johnny get left behind. Yeah, I mean, just an astounding series of events. By the way, guys, what do you think of our, cow-themed clothing
I was
today?
just about to mention it.
Oh, is it?
It looks
that
phenomenal.
cow-themed?
Loving everything about it.
How is it cow themed? Hey, there's a cow. How? What more?
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yo, I didn't see
got a
the
cow.
head. I didn't see the cow. Oh, how about you, bro?
Is that the clothing line from Martha Stewart?
Well, mine could be like a cow pattern, but it could also be like a Call of Duty
I thought it was
skin.
a cloud. Okay, I thought it was like cloud.
No,
Yeah,
I'm getting some Milka vibes. From
Now
you
that
here, Brent,
you
so
mention it.
All right, well, I'm cutting it off there. Let's get straight into the game before we say something we regret.
What were they fed this morning, Brent? What is going on
I don't
over
know.
there?
They're going crazy. They're going crazy on the desk. But welcome everybody to the Overwatch League of day one of week 2, obviously the 2021 season. You're joining us for the first match of the day, the Paris Eternal versus the Vancouver Titans. And yeah, I mean, if you couldn't tell from the desk, they were pretty split on it. I was also up all night just wondering, where do I predict this going? Because I really am not quite sure. I think both of these teams are going to be quite evenly matched, and it means we're probably going to be having a bit of a brawly game, honestly, between these two teams.
Hey, I don't want to say it, but me and you, we casted last season this Houston-Boston game right at the beginning of the season. It went to 7-8 maps in the BO5. I'm getting similar vibes from this match here. It could be an absolute El Clasico to begin the season.
Yeah.
Paris and Vancouver don't have that many expectations for their teams. But what we've seen so far, actually, across the league, even when we're talking about Vancouver and Valiant, the teams that people had the least excitement or expectations for, those teams have actually been pretty decent. They've been able to put up fights against teams that you wouldn't have expected them to put up fights against. So I really feel like the competition in the league has just gone way up in this year.
Yeah, I'm definitely inclined to agree. And let's take a look at the Paris Eternal starters as well. And these are the players they're going to be fielding. And I think there is a ton of talent on the Paris Eternal to be looking at here. Some underrated as well. In particular, I mean, I'm looking at Neptuno, of course, his veteran presence on this team. This guy has been in the Overwatch League since the beginning. And he is one of the oldest players that we have in the league as well. I mean, he provides that kind of stability that I think a young green roster like this, with a lot of these players haven't played in the Overwatch League before, is really quite essential, I think, to the makeup of it.
Sure, and a lot is made up of, Paris Eternal, they've got such a rookie roster, we don't know how they're going to perform. Onigod has been in the league before, and we know that this guy is really talented. And he was playing at a ping disadvantage last year when he was playing for the Dallas Fuel. Now it's going to be even across the board with the teams that he's playing against, despite these guys playing from Europe. And Elevote as well has dipped his toes in playing for the Washington Justice. So this isn't a completely green roster. They have enough veteran talent or enough experience to be able to get them wins.
Well, on the other side of things, they're up against the Vancouver Titans. And this is a roster that, I mean, we've already seen them play, but ultimately, they're still trying to basically scrap their way up the rankings, I suppose. This will be an important match for them to take away here.
I gotta say, I love Fried Wiener's mustache. It's so good. It's just fantastic. Whenever I see his player cam, I mean, that is just, it's just gorgeous. He's ascending into...
Yeah.
He looks like a dad that's going to go out grilling, you know, after the
That's
game.
what I mean. Yeah, he
like,
looks like he needs to get some jean shorts on, tuck it in, he's got the white socks on, he's got the Crocs, and he's just grilling up a storm, you know. And he's got an apron on. He's got the Soldier 76 apron that they released a while ago with the cookbook series.
Yeah,
he's going to be ready to go. Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, it's different, isn't it? You don't see it often in the league.
Yeah, he might be able to make grilled chicken of the Paris Eternal here, or maybe they'll just be serving prime Wagyu beef the entire game. Very hard to know, actually, when it comes to this game. It really is hard to get a read on how this is going to work. Our first map in the series is going to be Oasis, and the desk was talking a lot about expectations for the Paris Eternal being a lot around this rush composition, where Hanamura, Eichenwald, Nepal are going to be good maps for them. Oasis and Gibraltar, the areas where we're starting out, these are not great maps for running rush. Oasis University definitely is, but the other two stages not necessarily expected to run it there. So I think early on we're going to get a test of what Paris can do, what their comfort level with the meta looks like, and how even these two teams really are.
I have like this weird metagaming prediction over the course of the season, Josh. The teams that are playing, like the EU teams in particular, because obviously they're playing on a ping, and the system that we have set up in the Overwatch League means that the team that they play against also gets matched on that ping. So it's like almost like an artificial latency.
Right,
so
to make it fair. So that,
to make it fair between both teams. I have it like this. My personal theory. We're about to see if it comes true, but I think these teams are going to be basically playing rush the entire time on the higher ping comps. Just because I feel like you can really, it's a composition that ping isn't really going to be causing some major mistakes for you, and I think that teams will lean more into the rush when you get into these EU matches, and you can see them heading into it here. And it looks like early on, at least, I might be onto something here, but we'll see how the rest of the series goes.
Yeah, we've seen the NA teams and the APAC teams. Some of them like to run rush here, some of them like to run Winston or ball compositions. But for the Paris Eternal, a team that's been born and bred, molded in the fires of rush over in Europe, it's Reinhardt Central for Dan.
Yeah, and immediately you can see that the Paris Eternal are going to be taking up this high ground. And they're just going to be holding the positioning. The teams are just waiting for an opportunity to strike. The May wall is going to be coming in handy to try and, again, separate off anybody who's stepping too close. And it is just patience from both of these teams as they're waiting for the point to unlock, and eventually that's going to cause the go button. As you can see, the ice wall's laid down, but Dan's been caught out of position. Teru just trying to freeze him up. Dalton finding the first pick as well onto Neptuno. The Immortality Field is used, but Dan eventually shredded down. Too much damage to overcome. You can see as the players, the rest of the Paris Eternal will fall. The Vancouver Titans taking away team fight number 1.
Two very different approaches from both teams. Neptuno took a really aggressive position up in the sky, waiting for Vancouver to get onto the point so that he could set up with a boop engage. And instead, Paris always taking the aggressive position. They took the early aggressive high ground position, and then they were the ones to initiate. Good defensive play, though, and a nice wall from Teru, who is already starting to make his kind of position known in this team on May. 60% up to his Blizzard, similar position for Naga. It's going to be Khan with the first ultimate on board. That Amp Matrix could be crucial to get Vancouver off the high ground.
Deadeye's being used by Dalton. That's just going to be pushing him off. It forces the ice block out of Naga, and you can see Shredlock getting that pick off, opening things up tremendously. It's going to be the teammate for Elevote, but straight back to the drawing board immediately here. Unfortunately for Paris, they ended up committing the amplification matrix into this fight to try and turn it around, but it wasn't really for much.
It was a nice positioning of the Immortality Field from Khan, right around the corner where nobody could get to it, saved them from Dalton's Deadeye. But as he put down the Amp Matrix, Shredlock just followed up. Huge shatter, caught 2-3 people, and that's the Paris Eternal out of the fight. Vancouver now in a great position, again, playing reactively here. I like it.
Now Rolf has this window, this Amp Matrix from the high ground. I mean, it can be brutal if you're trying to play into it. He wants to lay it down, he's trying to get it into a decent position, and there you go. Neptuno caught out of position. That was the headshot through it to just instantly take him out. You can see the self-destruct's committed here as Elevote is trying to turn the fight around. And just about blocking the previous. And look at that. Oh my goodness, the Earth Shatter will be connecting, but it's a bit futile at the end of the day because the rest of the team just staggering out. You can see the Vancouver Titans happy to press the advantage now as they realize 90% in counting. It's looking like round 1 might be in the bag.
Desperation time for the Paris Eternal. They're going to go on to high mobility heroes. Down on the ball. Only got on Tracer. But like you said, Brent, it's all but wrapped up. It's going to go overtime and be scrappy, but for the Vancouver Titans, it's about getting that focus fire. Rolf has been bumped off the side, though. No immortality field, very little healing. This opens an opportunity for Onigod to get work done.
They have to touch the point. They've got to touch this. The overtime's going, but you are right. An opportunity for them still. Neptuno going to be caught up as well in the hammer swings, and the ultimate's not even necessary here. Shredlock holding on to the Earth Shatter, saving it for the next round, apparently. It's going to be 100-0 for the Vancouver Titans, and immediately, once again, as was preordained, the prophecies were true. Danny Lim off to a roaring start.
One round Andy. That's what we call people like you that are calling the
I like
game
to jump
after the first.
Yeah, I like to jump to the conclusions, you know.
I mean, hey, we're onto another rush map here, and Friedwiener, at least at the beginning, hinting at the fact that he might be trying to run the Sigma. This is something that we saw quite a lot in the Vancouver versus Mayhem game. But in that instance, it was really Mayhem trying to run the Sigma and Friedwiener mirroring it. But this could give us another interesting look into the various types of rush that you can run in this meta. The Sigma tends to hold on off angles, be a little bit of bait, and try and put down some consistent damage with the McCree, and it gives them a shield to play behind too. For Paris, it's all about playing fast. Neptuno's speed boosts have to be good. Isolating Friedwiener is a huge import.
They're gonna have to make it work here. Look at that spam damage coming through. Naga being chunked down. Healed back up though, and they're just slowly pushing across the point. At some point, they do have to go here, and now they're going to choose to engage. Friedwiener was the target, but the Ice Wall. Look at that terror, keeping his team alive. They did force out the Immortality Field as well, and the Vancouver Titans just wrap around. Steal the point away from them. Not a single casualty yet, but the ults are being built up here. And now you can see the Amp Matrix, the window, falling down here as Khan just tries to make the most of it, but the wall again blocking it. Onigod being caught out of position. Friedwiener just pumping in just that consistent damage of the hyperspheres, and it's a scrappy fight, but again the Vancouver Titans are the ones who are coming out on top.
Yeah, Paris are really struggling here to get good main wall engages and be fast and decisive in. Teru had a great wall though. The wall not only cut off the Amp Matrix from Khan, but it also sliced the Paris Eternal in half. And Paris have regrouped a little bit. They're going to be able to go for another engage.
Oh.
Again, a May wall, almost Team X Elevo.
Yeah, I mean, Terror's May walls have been really integral to a lot of the success here of the Vancouver Titans. The Deadeye walled up, tries to make it happen. The flashbang comes through as well, as it is going to be a brawl inside. Darn will fall as the Immortality Field just wasn't quite connecting onto him with that. The line of sight just out of reach. And they're going to be pushing for all of these kills.
Naga did not intend to boost Dalton up on that wall. The wall was supposed to cut him off and make sure that the McCree was just stuck behind it. Instead, almost gave him a high ground to be able to take them all off above the Rhine shield. Vancouver are still really in control here. Paris are not able to elevate the tempo. Their players aren't playing quick enough, making the decisions fast enough to be able to properly attack. This time, a nice main wall does start things off from Naga. They catch the first player. Wall out from Teru here to be able to block the Amp Matrix once again.
This is a huge gravitic flux. The reactive shatter comes out from Dawn to try and turn it. A sound barrier, though, traded by both these teams, but it's not good enough, man. 90% in counting. The self-destruct doesn't get anything. And the Vancouver Titans, what a vice grip they've got so far in this map. Neptuno's going to desperately try and keep this overtime going, trying to keep his team in it, but they're just being pressured from every single angle. Blizzard comes through as Naga tries to at least keep this one going. Might get the pick onto Shredlock, indeed he does, but no Icebox to survive any longer. Still Elvote as well. Keeping it tickling. Who knows?
Tickling it? Why not? It looks like what the Paris Eternal are doing to them. It's only tickling at this point because Vancouver Titans are just set up. The people are flying back in. Onigod does what he can, but at the end of the day, this is decisive.
No, almost flipping the point there. It felt like. Yeah, but it looks like they've got a firm control now of what's going on. And there you have it, the Vancouver Titans taking map number 1. And remind me, Josh, do you know about this social media thing that the Vancouver Titans are doing? Is it if they go to map 5, there's like they're giving out breadsticks or something?
Something about breadsticks. I know that their players have been desperately hungry, begging for breadsticks all week. But it's a new week, Brent. A new week to acquire more breadsticks.
Well, but I thought it was only if they go to map 5. So what I was going to say is
maybe.
This look, punishing Vancouver for being competent in a very, very good map 1 here. No breadsticks. I don't know how it works. I don't know what social media campaign they're running, but that is map number 1. And God, what a dominant performance. Really upsetting, I think, a lot of our expectations of Paris coming into this as well. We'll see if they're able to come back from this one after the break. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Indeed, we help people get jobs. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Mic check.
Mic check.
My mic sound good?
Yeah, useful, good logics.
That's how Spence is laughing at.
Oh, that's loud.
Yeah, don't ever do that again.
Kev, you're not that famous. Relax. You're like an
I'm not
AI.
that famous.
The picture of you is literally a Genji drawing.
Piggy, why have two mouse?
I took the. We should use it.
Stop talking, thanks.
Thanks.
Hey.
What?
Please focus game.
What are we focusing on, Shu? We're about to play Lijiang Tower, guys. We're about to go into Lijiang Tower.
Play just like scream, don't yell, don't get excited too much.
Just have fun.
Not have fun. It's match.
Don't have fun?
Yeah, to have fun.
Holy moly.
Hey, Roshu. Hey, Hansunji. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm dead.
I literally woke up this morning and I was more excited than I've been for Christmas in like the last 10 years.
No shit, actually.
I felt like I was like 10 years old waking up Christmas morning. I'm like, oh, we get to play a match. Let's go.
No, guys.
What's mean LMK?
Let me know.
Oh.
Ah, you don't know?
In America. Holy
IDK.
What time is it? I mean, what time is it now? 12:03.
Lucio, low two.
Big rock. I blocked.
Oh, I got shot here.
장원이. 이거 셔러.
Right there. Right. Kill. I used my own play. Right. Oh.
Big 셔러.
Right.
I got
Right.
디바. Let's kill them all.
Hungary, here's the best main tank in the world now!
And here's our power rankings with IBM Watson, and the astute viewers will notice that we actually don't have any players playing this match on this list, but hopefully, Josh, they can break into this top 20 here. You know, maybe the data will favor them in some way or form, and they might end up here one day. I know that, you know, it's every child's dream to one day end up on the power rankings with IBM Watson.
That is true. Now, what interests me about this is that we have support players really high up, like Ganamjin, like Lastro, and I don't want to put Khan on the same kind of level in terms of expectations, but that was somebody that people were really excited about playing for the Paris Eternal. On Batiste, on Zen, the way that the coaches of Paris and the players that have played against Khan were describing him, and the way that he looked when he was playing in Contenders, was an extremely mechanically gifted player in the backline who Neptuno said it was like he was going to be operating a gun and firing it at his opponents. Like Neptuno was going to be the brain, and Khan was going to be the aim in the backline.
Wow.
And on the Paris Eternal themselves, they've got Suna now subbing in for Naga. This is really interesting, Brent. Suna playing against his former team. They only fielded him a few times last year. Didn't get the greatest showing in the world. And now it's his time to prove himself on another roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think Suna as well definitely had some great moments previously in the Overwatch League. So I'm hoping that this is the thing that they need to turn this one around, because we're heading into Gibraltar next, and this is a map where, you know, typically has not been kind to Paris as well in the past. Obviously different teams and all that, but we will be heading into it shortly, and they do need to switch something up. Gibraltar also typically a map that is going to be favoring a lot of the double bubble compositions, and whether or not we see that coming out from these teams is yet to be seen, because again, I know both of these teams are favoring a lot of the rush compositions, but definitely looks like at the moment the Vancouver Titans have a better grasp of how to play, you know, the Reinhardt, Lucio rush compositions compared to the Paris Eternal. And maybe they need to dip into a bit of a, you know, some different compositions to maybe sort of play towards the map a little bit more.
I think that's part of bringing in Suna, to be honest. He's, when the coaching staff of Paris have been talking about their roster, they've talked about Suna as their tracer specialist. And Linkzor on the other side coming in is going to be playing, I think, probably some McCree to try and shut that down. So this is going to be a dynamic of the subs, in my opinion, to see how much value they can get done on the map. And also, like I said, it gives us an opportunity to take a look at Paris. How good are they on different comps? How well can Dan and Elevo combine in a composition that's very different, but still very reliant on that tank synergy?
Yeah. All about the tank synergy in a lot of capacities. And you can see the Vancouver Titans also going to be matching them as they're coming out of the gate. Teasing us a little bit. Thought they were going to be running with a rush comp, but you can see them. The bubble applied. Shredlord just trying to take away that high ground control, but drops immediately. Just going to give it a charge for Pride Wiener.
Dan's dropped down to the point here, and he's just going to try and stay up with Khan healing him. Khan's going to be able to generate a large amount of nanoboost charge, but that bubble is dangerous to play inside because it blocks all of the healing.
I mean, he's really tucked inside of it. He's got to jump out. Okay, he does. He's going to get healed up as well. But again, it's a slow start from both these teams, but it looks like the Vancouver Titans are the ones who want to engage. The bubble comes through again. It's going to get burst. Now they can start healing through it, but a massive bio nade. Look at that, connecting onto 3 members. Khan putting in work. We were hyping him up. There was a lot coming into this season off the back of it. His performances in contenders have been elite. We really do need to see him come up big here. You can see him still poking up top. The Vancouver Titans haven't been denied of that high ground just yet. The cart has a lot of free push here in the car wash section. Teams are raring up for an engage.
Elevo now has to give up the high ground, and Vancouver Titans have taken that area of the map. It has taken them over a minute to be able to do that, but now they can start to establish themselves in server room, push Elevo away, and he's pretty disconnected from the rest of his squad. He needs help early.
Yeah, he got the peel, and now they're going to be going back in on the Vancouver Titans. This is quite nice from Paris. Elevo was almost just a bait waiting out there, but his team was supporting him as they rotated around for him. Dan hopefully doesn't fall, indeed stays alive, 58 health. And
look how much
pretty good.
This is actually going to give back over to Khan as well. With Dan taking all that damage but surviving the fight, Khan gets a free 40% for the next fight. Very well played by Paris, and this is where the comp starts to work really well. On defense, being able to ult cycle, bait the defenders into exposed positions, and then dive on top of them. That's going to be the name of the game for Khan and Dan.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of hurt the Vancouver Titans almost from their slow approach here, because now only 2 minutes remaining. And the card is not in a favorable position. They still have to push it all the way around this corner. Dalton's going to be looking for an opportunity. You can hear the grab was unleashed. Elevo alone in the corridor. Might be able to get something done, but ultimately they turn it around straight away. Fried Wiener unleashes his own grab. It locks up enough of these players. Now you can see Onigod just trying to clutch this one up here, trying to catch out Dalton. But the Primal Rage now going to be committed by Shredlock. Just trying to separate away a couple of these players so they can take them down. Neptuno's rally, he's just pumping in the armor packs, but eventually Onigod, using the Deadeye, manages to catch out Rolf. Chaos in the server room, Josh. I'm not sure which side is going to be winning, but it looks like, looks like the Paris Eternal might just be edging this one out. Still, the players are just feeding into them, slowly but surely. Who knows if it's winnable? The rally armor from Fire is going to fade, and eventually he's taken down. But it's even trades all over the bloody shop, and it's superior spawns now for the Paris Eternal. They are going to be coming back into this fight faster and a lot closer to the Vancouver Titans, as much as they are just inting in players one after the other.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like. They're just kind of taking split fights all over the place, letting the time and the pressure get to their heads. You have to stop that cart! No, you have to stop the cart! Oh, no. Well, that's the problem with Suna dying there, though. Suna is the guy who needs to be playing around the floor, using his blinks and his recalls to contest the objective. You can't just have your tanks ping-ponging onto it. That's not really how this comp works. You don't want your Zarya on the low ground and your Winston not applying pressure. And Vancouver, I mean, that was messy. That is certainly anybody's point to win there, but Vancouver scrape it by the skin of their teeth. They are in control of checkpoint A.
That is okay. Nano boost applied. Sleep immediately done. Not going to be getting too much done. Bubble's going to keep him from dying too much, but Khan goes down. Shredlock actually with the nano boost applied to him, wrapping around a bit of a pincer as well as he came from behind, and nobody's paying attention to him. And he's built up a Primal Rage just by himself. No one focusing him down. They're going to get punished for it. Paris Eternal losing this team fight now in a pretty critical position, because it means now this card's going to get pushed up and the players can start to try and take away some of this high ground before the Paris Eternal can re-engage.
Yeah, the ult usage from Paris has been kind of heinous so far on their defense. Their first engage was pretty good, but then their decision-making has been pretty poor since then. They've got a grab pulse bomb to be able to use here, but all of their regular tools for ult cycling are kind of out of the window. And with 1 minute and 45 seconds left, Dan falls once more. Elevo with a grab in a position where they can't get a pulse. Oh, they can, but they didn't force out the bubbles early enough. So again, doesn't quite work. Onigod though, turning things around.
Onigod from the side! The Deadeye catching 2 players, both the tanks gone. Oh my goodness, what a clutch. And Josh, I mean, I was saying Echoes previously, it's Echoes of the past, I feel like. It's always us that gets to cast these series here. These 2 teams just slugging each other, one after the other. Neither team wanting to give up at any moment, and you never know when it might just be turned around.
Exactly. But when the games get this messy and when teams refuse to disengage, anything can turn the entire fight. Onigod's just blinking into this grab. Pulse Bomb doesn't get anything, and then the Deadeye from this back position. Oh,
Okay.
gorgeous. Takes out both of the tanks. Why not?
Nicely done, nicely done. The high ground position was taken here by Paris. And look at this. Oh my god, the grab into the Pulse Bomb. I mean, they just baited them directly into it. It's not over just yet, though. The Paris Eternal are looking to try and turn this, especially with that kill onto Shredlock. Taking away the tank. Someone's got to contest this point, though. Onigod peppering them from above, and he does find the pick just in time. Nano Boost now applied over to Elevode as well, and he's going to be charged up and trying to build up a bit of his grab now. Only 9% remaining until he gets the rest of that going. It's looking like, as scrappy as it is, Dan needs to disengage. He needs to be healed up here. It's just about, yep, okay, they're just about going to be able to disengage and squeeze away from this team fight.
Rolf will have a nano boost.
10
Shredlock
seconds.
has to go huge here. If Shredlock gets a dive into the backline and catches Neptune on Khan, maybe it's winnable for the Vancouver Titans. But Paris are getting big ults online and grabbing a pulse here, they should be able to finish it out quite easily, especially with that kill on Dalton.
Nano applied to Shredlock. He has to use the bubble because the Deadeye, I mean, he's just been keeping it way too long. They didn't burst the bubble in time, so he will survive. But a lot of resources poured into him to keep him alive as the overtime's going. Linksa has to roll forward to try and contest this one, but the grab onto the high ground. That's beautiful from Elevode. It's going to keep him locked up and away from this point. And the Vancouver Titans are only capable of pushing it in just before the end of this hangar phase. So a real solid win condition now for the Paris Eternal.
Yeah, and this is more what we were expecting from this match, I feel, with both teams just whacking each other, just taking lumps out of each other, refusing to give up on fights, a bit sloppy in terms of their coordination, but big individual moments being able to turn things around. Yeah.
And you can see here from our map leaderboard, presented by Xfinity, it's Paris that are looking to try and turn away history because it was one of the best times set against them. With the Shock versus Paris game. And yeah, this is a different Paris Eternal squad, obviously.
Definitely. A very different Paris
They're definitely looking to try and, I suppose there's some elements they'd like to carry forwards from that previous Paris Eternal squad, but that's not one of them.
Hello there.
No, that certainly is not. They'd like to leave that in the past. but this is more similar. The level between both of these teams when it comes to the double bubble compositions seems to be a little more in line with what we were expecting, which is weird because we really did expect the Europeans to be the teams that were better comparatively at the rush comps. Instead, Paris have got themselves a very winnable situation here. They're going to be attacking. Let's see how the ult cycling works when they're on offense.
That's what it all counts for. You can see exact same approach as last time. Dan, though, this time taking the high ground up. Just trying to build up that primal rage a little bit. That's why you got the bubble, gives a bit of charge to Elevode as well, for him to eventually push through forward with. And it is essentially a slow push. Both teams just going to be, again, tickling each other, touching the point every now and then. Dan as well, again, just gets denied actually pretty quickly away from that high ground here. And Vancouver Titans haven't been pushed away from this, so they could choose to re-engage off of the back of it. It's a bit all over the place as of yet.
They're struggling to support Elevode. They're trying to get their Zarya into that high ground position across the bridge, but Dan got denied when he tried to jump up top. You can see Elevode here. They're trying to push him and the Brig and the Ana and the Kree across this narrow bridge and through the small hallway in front. But Vancouver Titans are not giving it up. Khan is going to have a nano boost here though. Nano onto Dan would be pretty huge. That's really what they need. Dan gets a good jump, takes the bubble, drops back down again. Looks like that wasn't his opportunity to hardcore engage.
Now.
This is it.
Now they're going to be going, and I think they actually comboed as well as they pushed across the bridge at the same time. Bit of a pincer approach as well. They had to just back off into Dan with the Tesla Cannon cleaving through them. And it looks like the rest of Vancouver will be following shortly.
Yeah, there you go. That's how a nano
Should be
boost
a clean fight.
It can just win you a fight immediately. That's the value of being able to just charge up the nanos. You can play slowly for a while, get that ult online. It provides you with a big win condition. The Vancouver Titans didn't choose to fight over checkpoint A, and that gives them control of the high ground here. If they can punish Dan, he's going to have Primal available, but that Deadeye from Linksa threatens to take him out.
Okay, he got slept up in the side room, but immediately woken up as well. Dan ended up popping the Primal just to try and essentially survive through the burst damage that was coming his way. Elevo falling very, very low. The grab committed onto him, only one target, but that's all you need. Because the Vancouver Titans are really investing everything to try and stop this one. A lot of ults being used just to stop them in their tracks there. Big ultimates as well. They're not going to have the nano to rotate around with the Winston going in, of course, engaging, trying to build up the Primal Rage, which is pretty integral when you're running this double bubble comp.
Taking a look at the ult situation that's online, I mean, again, we've got these opportunities for grab pulse, but the ults aren't the most important thing here, it's the positioning. Vancouver Titans are up on the high ground. It's going to be hard to knock them off. Thankfully, they don't have a nano boost, they don't have a primal to be able to deal with, so Shredlock isn't going to be as destructive as he normally would be. A waste there from Fire, tried to bash to deny Dan getting on the high ground. That is fantastic, though. Khan falls, and he had the nano. That's going to slow things down a lot.
Just laying down the pulse bomb like a little egg. It looks like the Vancouver Titans are happily able to clean up at least a couple of more of these players. Elevo will fall. And yeah, Suna just realizes, okay, we got to get out of here. Got to reset. Not a winnable engagement, but a big fight for the Vancouver Titans to win now.
It is. It definitely is. And Rolf is now edging up towards his nano boost as well. What I'd like to see from the Paris Eternal is, instead of trying to combo this grab and pulse bomb together, which means that Suna needs to be on the high ground, play Suna down on the payload and see if you can get value out of the nano engage from Dan instead. But you need that constant point pressure. And Lynx is going to have to drop off the high ground if he wants to try and contest, otherwise it's just a Tracer 1v1. That is a big Bionade.
That's a huge Bionade, and Khan is the one who's going to be obviously great sleep, paying off big time. Great sleep here, connecting onto Dan. The Primal Rage is not going to be getting too much done now, but it's on both sides. Just sleeping monkeys everywhere. Now you can see Shredlock, he does have a little bit of the Primal Rage left. Just about got his bubble as well, but he's 100 HP being bursted. His bubble actually dropped to the low ground as well. He's in a precarious position, and they've been burnt down, locked up. The grab connects. The Deadeye from afar. Onigod looking to just try and seal the deal here and put a map on the board now for the Paris Eternal. Lynx are pushed away from the high ground. He was one of the last deterrents away from it. And the Paris Eternal, as cleanly as it will do, they're going to be taking map number 2 here, bringing us to an even score line in this series.
Well played there from Paris, rebounding where most expectations were for them to be perhaps a little weaker on the double bubble. Instead, Suna comes in on Tracer and brings it to his former team. That's what we like to see.
Beautiful work from the Paris Eternal to try and come back into this. We might have the series that was promised on our hands here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be going to a short break. On the other side of it, of course, you already know, the series will be continuing, so do not go anywhere. You don't want to miss it. It could be absolutely magical.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renter's insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. So much flavor, it's a mind crunch. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Well, playing aggressive as support is super important, and I think it takes a lot of like self-confidence and also like knowing when to do it. And it's really important right now in the meta. Like, you want your support to like being able to like do damage and make aggressive plays. Well, I'm very excited to play with new talent. I think I'm gonna try to like help them that we play without fear and we don't like we play at our full potential.
And here's our Indeed player resume of the match. You can see Neptuno, competitive play since summer 2016. You can hear him in that clip we just watched as well, him talking about obviously him being this leadership figure and really, I guess, teaching the guys to play without fear, which I think is an important concept. You know, sometimes it does hold a lot of players back when they get in their heads a little bit and they don't play in the match like they do in the scrims. It's a common problem that actually comes up a lot, we find.
Definitely with a rookie roster too, right? And I think as we see Paris Eternal play in this match, not much of that aggression or high-paced tempo gameplay, at least in a coordinated sense, has really been on display. But these first matches are always, you know, finding your feet in a professional setting. Vancouver Titans have already had that last week. They went Northern 2, but they had some, you know, decent maps. We've got some subs on the screen as well. It's going back to the same rosters that we saw over in map 1, with Naga coming in, Teru coming in. We're expecting this to be rush compositions with the May being played as we head over this time to Hanamura. And the rest of the map pool, Bren, it looks rush favored. I'd like to see if Paris can make this much more competitive than the opening map, because that was absolutely dominant in favor of the Titans, and not really by virtue of them being amazing so much as Paris just looking a little bit lost.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, watching that first map as well, I think the things that I was reflecting on was really the difference, I think, between Teru's walls and Naga's walls. The ice walls being so important, I think, when you're playing that kind of rush comp in terms of setting the pace of the match and essentially setting your team up for good team fights. And it was kind of missing, I think, a little bit on the Paris Eternal side. And we didn't really quite see that too much. It's such an integral piece of wanting to take those good fights. But yeah, absolutely, I'm with you. I want to see a close series. I mean, we were promised that, you know, this is some of these members, guys, coming out of contenders in EU. The rush compositions is what they were born and bred in. I mean, it's been played for eons, it feels like. Passed down in family generations is learning how to play the Ryan Lucio comps. So I want to see a little bit more out of the Paris Eternal, because if it's going to be going like map 1, if we're going towards the rush maps now, the Vancouver Titans are looking like they've got a very clear edge.
And again, Vancouver are going to opt for this Sigma variation. Probably with Fried holding up on that high ground there, with Dalton, with maybe Rolf too, and splitting the team in a bit of a 3-3 aspect, where Shredlock is going to be able to get value out of Teru's walls and the Lucio speed boost. So for Paris, this becomes a question of how do you break this kind of stuff? And their answer is the Symmetra. Shredlock just getting cheeky there, seeing if he can get a fire strike for some extra ultimate charge, but this is what it's going to come down to. Where does Onigod actually take them? What wild journey are we going on today?
A lot of patience. It seems to be that they're discussing exactly what they want to do. Okay, it's a pause.
A lot of patience, Brent.
I was wondering, what is happening here? These guys wondering, but something's gone wrong here. It looked like Onigod wasn't moving his mouse, so maybe it's something to do with that. Possibly.
Could be.
Pure speculation on my part. But yeah, the Symmetra is a great option if we really want to dive in on that for a little bit, at least to get past this initial choke points. I mean, the beauty of Symmetra is as well, whenever you're watching the programs, I'm also reminded it just works in every game. Because that Hanamura first point choke in your ranked games, I hate to tie it back to my ranked games all the time because they're nothing like these pro scenes. But at the same time, if you ever find yourself on Hanamura and your team just not pushing through the choke, I mean, just switch over to Sim. Switch over to Sim, nice and easy. Yeah. Exactly. Maybe we'll make it a series or something.
Hey, it works in the Overwatch League too. You have a lot of different options for where you can teleport to. You can teleport to point. You can fake a teleport to point. You can teleport on top of the hut top left. You can teleport on rafters. You can fake any of those options. So here we see a teleport to rafters. They're going to commit to it too. And this now puts the backline of Vancouver in a tough position. For Fry-Rena, for Rolf, they need to find their correct rotations before Paris drop on them. And, okay, that was a little lethargic, not exactly sure what was going on there. And Onigot doesn't think about where his teleporter's going, doesn't know there's a wall in front of him. And Paris have just run into the maw.
God, that
could have been better executed, Brent. That could have been executed better.
That is so brutal. I saw Onigot. He's like, "Yep, set down the three little turrets, and I'll TP onto point, and it's gonna blow somebody up." And there's an ice wall, and it stops it, and it falls short.
I think the pause might have rattled them in that fight, though, a little bit. I want to give them a bit of, like, shoot them some bail here, to be honest, because Paris Eternal, they're going to go for a similar push right now. Again, the backline of Vancouver need to rotate a little bit, and Paris are going to think about where they want to go. Again, a little slow here, maybe trying to fake what direction they're going in, sneaking around.
Yeah, they're playing it so slow. Okay, now the TP comes through, but it does actually manage to get past the ice wall in time, but the players have been blown up. The Amp Matrix is way too much damage to just be walking into here. Even with the TP to try and chop and change and break the ankles, not enough. The Sim Wall being committed now as well into this. And I think that was Onigot just going backwards and forwards between this TP. Just dodging, avoiding a lot. The Paris Eternal using their own amplification matrix. Now Vancouver have to respect this. Moving around, you can see Teru again, another great ice wall. It's going to be buying them a tiny bit of time here. Teru just trying to get the freeze off. Oh, tries to unleash the Blizzard, but look at the Earth Shatter. It's wonderful. Connects onto multiple targets here. Self-destruct into the corner, but that was another great ice wall once again from Teru, but not enough. It looks like the Paris Eternal are just overwhelming them over ever so slightly. Sound barrier now from the Paris Eternal. Neptuno, unsure of whether or not they were actually going to be closing out this objective, committing it into this tail end of the fight, and they are going to be able to just squeak out this checkpoint A win.
Listen, Brent, I could analyze that fight. I could talk about the things that I think they did right and they did wrong. End of the day, it worked for them. So who am I to doubt it? Paris Eternal used a lot of ultimates there, and it did definitely get scrappy. Teru's Blizzard getting cancelled was a huge moment, though, I've got to say. Done with that big Earth Shatter. And even the sound barrier that came afterwards, Teru was knocked down to like 2 HP. So that I think was a real pivotal moment for that tipping in favor of the Paris Eternal. And now they have 4 minutes left to try and battle this out. A Blizzard for the high ground could be crucial here for Naga, but they're going the low ground instead, teleporting to point.
Gravitic Flux, possibly?
Faking the teleport?
So they're trying, okay, I see what they're trying to do, yeah. So they're faking the TP because they assumed that the Gravitic Flux is going to be used preemptively. To try and, they were trying to bait out. Trying to bait it out from Fried. But he just held on to it. So again, Paris Eternal losing a couple of seconds.
Again, messing with the teleporters, seeing if they can go up top, setting down another ultimate here as well. And this time, Fried bites. He is going to use the Gravitic Flux.
Yep. Ultimate's going to be committed. And it seems like the Paris Eternal have got a great advantage moving into this one. Rolling forwards, the players are corralled into the corner, and Elevote just on high. A lot of burst damage coming from his micro missiles. You can see him finding a lot of work. Dan just trying to flick his shield up as well, just trying to dodge the potential flashbang that Dalton could be holding on to here. Couple of swings takes out Fire, and already it's looking like potentially 2 ticks. And Matrix though, it goes down, the window will fall. Look at that flashbang into Dan, 42 health, has to back off here, but he's going to get blown up. Way too much damage to try and withstand. Shredlock laying down that Earth Shatter. Don't believe it connected onto anyone, but it matters not. They are able to clinch it out and just about get the defense going.
2 ticks is good for the Paris Eternal, but I've got to say, if Khan had been able to stay up there and heal Dan, it really feels like Paris had a good opportunity to just close it out right then and there. Their attack was pretty decent. They had a decent idea of what they wanted to do and what tools the Vancouver Titans had to slow them down and disrupt them. This time they're going to be pushing with double supportal, which is always good, but it's not necessarily a counter to the Blizzard that Teru has available. So for Vancouver now playing the slightly higher tempo composition with the D.Va in play, it's about getting value out of that, I think. And this could be a true teleport up to the high ground, and this is lovely from Khan. Going to do a lot of damage.
This is beautiful as well into the Amp Matrix. You have to respect it. Can anyone touch this point? They almost managed to squeak it away. Remember, they had 77%. The players have to drop down the Earth, or the sound barrier. It's going to be keeping them nice and healthy. Last-ditch Blizzard. Earth Shatter laid down by Dan once again will connect onto the one target, but he's eventually taken out as well. Walking into the Blizzard, it matters not. Well, Paris Eternal, 138. Let's take a listen in to the Paris Eternal's communications off the back of that one.
Oh no, that was wild.
Wild. Okay. Just talk about defense.
Okay. Here, I start top right. If they don't have Zoom, we just play it where I walled the rotation center.
And there we go. We're going to cut that off before they reveal all of their deep secrets in how to win, how they're going to win Hanamura. But yeah, it seems like the Paris Eternal actually have a pretty good understanding here of what they needed to do to close out this map. They had some decent ideas around the Symmetra teleports as well. It looked more thought through than when we watched them play Rush on Oasis. It definitely looked like they had more of a game plan and a good idea of how to execute.
Yeah. I think you'll notice that teams like Paris will probably benefit quite a bit, I think, from a little bit of the slower game modes. Control, you're always against the timer, right? I mean, you're against the timer in any sort of game mode, but it's definitely a lot more pressured because you're limited the amount of team fights you can take in a game mode like that. Whereas in Assault, you're kind of just trying to pick and choose the best times to engage, and you know, there's a whole lead up when you're on the attack of talking about how you want to be approaching a fight.
Yeah. I mean, in theory,
which is
you
missing
only need
from
to
the
win.
other game modes.
In theory, you only need to win 2 team fights on Assault to be able to win to be able to take the map when you're attacking anyway.
Okay. Double shield. Probably not going to be sticking with it, yeah. It was just preemptive. Laid it down just in case. You can see the Vancouver Titans again scouting out this beginnings, this area, just really checking every single point. They're going to be rolling forwards. They realize, okay, we're being given a lot of space here. We can start to rotate back around.
Space.
Yeah, a lot of respect being shown to the Vancouver Titans.
Unusual for teams to not try and fight at this forward area when they have the May online, but the point itself is quite defensible. They're letting Vancouver rotate around, so they have the high ground now, and Paris are going to back up to the stairs. That's taken an entire minute for Vancouver to do that rotation, so if they end up losing this fight, it does take a huge amount of time off the clock.
Okay, the Ice Wall goes up. Shredlock healed though as well, as Rolf ended up using the Exo Boots just to get onto the high ground. Immortality Field is committed from Paris, but immediately taken down, but it is going to be them finding the early advantages as kills are going their way. Shredlock frozen up, still Teru looking to try and clutch this one up. Dalton asking for the pause in the middle of the team fight. Unfortunate timing for them. Something going wrong on the Vancouver Titans side.
I mean, that is a pivotal timing to go for a pause like that as well. That was this team fight's kind of all over the place, to be honest. Vancouver Titans are allowed all of the space, rotate up on the high ground. As they push in, Naga's wall again kind of misses it, and they're able to jump up top. Rolf is still able to jump on top, deliver healing to the rest of his team, and Khan's Immortality Field is forced out so early on. And even though the Vancouver Titans drop a couple of players before Rolf can actually commit the Immortality Field himself, they've still got good position over the point. Looks like we're going to be going back into this pretty shortly too, so only a small pause, but let's see how the end of this team fight resolves, because it is actually still winnable for either side. Even though Paris have just dropped a couple of players, including their Reinhardt, OniGod is alive. When the McCree's alive, anything's possible.
Yeah, we'll see the Vancouver Titans getting ready and raring to go. Get the D-Mech here onto Pride. Could be missing the Diva now, but they do have a lot of space at this point, a lot of respect being shown, and Matrix is laid down. Ice Wall should get destroyed here pretty quickly. Indeed it does. Still 2 ticks and counting. Someone's got to try and contest this now. You can see Neptuno just flying into the back line here, and it's a forward approach as they look to just try and jump onto the remaining players now. The Paris Eternal clean them up. The tank line back in the fight for Paris, but probably not for much longer, given that they've lost a lot of these players. Swinging away, Dan will fall. And yeah, they're just going to be just throwing the bodies onto the point just to try and buy as much time as possible, but it will be the Vancouver Titans winning this out. 5 minutes now to work with as they're pushing into checkpoint B.
It's a huge amount of time, but Paris Eternal set themselves a pretty good record themselves with 1.5 minutes on the clock. And Vancouver are coming in here without a massive ultimate advantage. Paris have still got a lot to work with themselves. It's all about these neutral engagements though, because the first few seconds of these rush fights dictate a lot. Whose abilities are forced out first? Who ends up getting the better May walls off? That's the kind of stuff that decides how ultimates get invested. And it's a fast push for Vancouver. The speed boost and the Deadeye.
Ooh, okay. The Deadeye ends up getting cancelled. I think Dalton was a little bit worried that the self-destruct was going to take him out. Blizzard comes through, but 8 up on the other side of things. Elevote taking it out of the fight. The Pass Eternal on the defense, committing the ultimates, coming up with a bit of the goods here. You can see the shield being laid down. What is that Earth Shatter? Darn! Collecting it onto so many targets, it does force out the sound barrier, and the Vancouver Titans are going to be right back up on their feet, trying to turn this fight around. Already with the pickoffs. Not going to be getting too much of the fire strike, but now a bit of point pressure as the tanks are just laying it down. Already 50% and counting down, swinging away. Another Earth Shatter here. Shredlock tries to maybe make it happen, but lowers his shield for a second and gets blown up. The recontest from Paris trying to stop them. Deadeye also just going to be negated by the body, I suppose, of Elevote as he tries to stop them. Another Amp Matrix, you have to respect that. A really long team fight, just really being drawn out.
Yeah.
And the Pass Eternal, it looks like, I want to say that they're getting out on top of this, but just as I try and say that it's going their way, the pickoffs start moving towards the Vancouver Titans. Earth Shatter laid down. Once again, another freeze up onto Dan. He's taken up. Flashbang round the corner. Chaos, Pandemonium, Amp Matrix, Self-Destruct. 2 ticks and counting. And the Vancouver Titans are going to be taking checkpoint B.
That looked like Naga just got crushed by Mjolnir. Shredlock just held it on top of his head. He was already dead, man. He didn't even Earth Shatter him, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, that was I mean, that is the definition of scrappy. Both teams just throwing everything at each other, disrespecting each other as well, never disengaging. And the Vancouver Titans just trickle in one by one. I think the big deciding moment, though, for me, is when Dalton is up on the high ground, contesting against Khan's Amp Matrix, and Onigod flanks. So the McCree has come off the respawn and is coming around the left-hand side from the attacker's perspective, going for the flank play, and instead, they just bop it. Okay, all right. Finish him off.
Here. Okay,
finish him off.
Everyone. Thank
Nice,
goodness
and this is
right
actually
click.
the moment I think that I'm talking about here. Onigod on the flank around the left-hand side. Both get flashed, but fire is there. I mean, they also had Fried there to be able to defense Matrix Dalton. So either way, that wasn't going to work from Onigod. But that kind of risky play that Onigod felt like he had to do ended up meaning the death of the Paris Eternal in that push, because they just didn't have the damage to be able to counteract, and also the people that were holding on rafters didn't actually have to worry about any longer range hit scan, so they can all stand in very open sightlines again. The pressure once more returns back to being on Paris.
On the attacking side as well, so working against the worst time bank with 1.5 minutes to work with. TP again up to the rafters. That's what they've done a couple of times now.
And now we creep.
Yes, they're waiting silently, cautiously. They're laying down the turrets though. The teams are brawling. It's a moment of silence, but they immediately just explode onto the point. Undone with the 2K with the fire strike. Manages to connect it onto 2 targets, but probably not going to be enough here unless we see some absolute heroics. The Vancouver Titans are looking like they're coming out better still. The point I want to make here, the Vancouver Titans, with every player that they lose, it's a little bit worse for them as well, because the spawners are going to be running all the way back, very far away, and the Paris Eternal are nice and close, so they're going to be taking a better team fight now.
And they have the teleporter to be able to get into the actual point more quickly. So Paris are going to be engaging here before Vancouver have got their backline sped into position. And this time they just go straight to the point, recognizing that. What a shatter!
Shredlock lays it down, and he's going to force out that immortality field nice and early. Still, the Paris Eternal, despite all that, there was no follow-up. And they just obliterate them in the blink of an eye. Holy moly. That was almost incredible by Shredlock, but again, didn't catch on to the one target that they needed, which was Khan, and Khan was immediately there. The immortality field was out, and at that point, no target is going down.
Yeah, and they just overstepped themselves too. It's a huge Earth Shatter, but then they overextend to try and follow up on it, and as soon as the Paris Eternal are back on their feet, you're in enemy territory trying to take a fight where you're massively overextended without the support of your teammates. Dalton now in the clutch scenario, seeing what kills he can get done. We've seen this comp get run by the Dallas Fuel before.
Okay, TPing back. Someone laying back here, the Earth Shatter, okay. The overlapping shields, the walls, Everything's going wrong, it feels like, for the Vancouver Titans right now. Self-destruct into the sky just to peel them all away to Blizzard as well. No one can really touch this one. They have to try and find a couple of these picks. Teru eventually going down. Now you can see Fried, last man standing, is going to get demake, but the rest of his team is just about coming back into it, swinging away. The Ice Wall has to get used here early on. Shredlock, though, eventually going to be taking so much damage, and nobody has managed to dislodge Khan from on high, laying down the heals, laying down the damage. The overtime will start to burn, but nobody is going to be capable of touching this one as the Paris Eternal rocket their way into 4 points on the board.
Hey, give it an inch, they'll take a mile. Paris Eternal there were almost going to get held at point A off the back of that shatter. And instead, they pick themselves up, and Khan is the man of that round. Being able to land the Immortality Field the first time around to save them from Shredlock. And then on that point B, you called it perfectly, Brent. He's just up on the high ground. He got teleported over there, and he's just able to rain down the healing. Perfectly times the Immortality Field to keep Onigod, their main source of damage, alive on the point. And that's 4 checkpoints for the Paris Eternal. That's great. That gives them another opportunity to steal this map away and lead the series.
We'll see now what the Vancouver Titans' answer is to it, because you remember the time banks as well that the Paris Eternal were working with. It's about half of what the Vancouver Titans have got right now, and they managed to get it. But that's the Assault game mode. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. You just need to win 2 team fights theoretically, and they don't even need to be clean in some cases. You can literally just scrap it up sometimes and squeak away with it. And now, I mean, it's looking a little bit shaky, I think. The Vancouver Titans have been coming into this, probably they were feeling quite good, but now it's like, okay, well, we have quite a lot to try and overcome here.
Well, let's think about what Paris did on their defense last time. They all played around the point, tried to give Vancouver as much space as was needed. This time, Paris just scouting and playing up on this high ground
here we go.
hut. Wondering where they're going to reposition here. Now Dan is kind of playing off by himself, but it seems like Neptuno is going to go for a boop, and then maybe a wall, and an engage. That counter wall now not quite fast enough.
Yeah, they're going to try and burn him up here, not finding what they were looking for. Elevo just off the off angle, you can see him just pumping in the damage into Shredlock, trying to take him down, but Dan will be the one who falls. Fried Wiener demeked as well. Onigod has to come up with something big, and he's already picked up the first kill. Trading out the tanks now, still at the off angle, finding the shot. Onigod! That is monstrous! Look at him go! Oh my goodness! He made it work for them, nobody punishing him when he was just taking that tiniest of opportunity. But again, Josh, you said it best. Give him an inch, take a mile, and Onigod just did just that.
What a play. That's what he was trying to do on the point B defense last time when he got shut down by Dalton and Fire. This time around, nobody looking at him, playing from a safer distance, and he wins that fight for his team. That could be a match-winning play that Onigod just pulled off. He now has the Deadeye as well for the next engagement, same as Dalton. What do the Vancouver Titans go for here? They need a wall to be able to enter, and then the Amp Matrix.
Amp Matrix immediately blows a belly boat. He was trying to take the off angle again to just pepper them, but he wasn't ready for the ultimate. Not tracking it! Done! Oh my god, that is monstrous! Lays it down in close quarters, and he's collected it onto so many players, but nobody could take care of the healers. Rolf was just, again, keeping his team topped up, ready and waiting to come back into the fight, and as Neptuno tries to just turn it around, not quite enough. Still, Onigod is alive, Elevo is alive, and they might be able to get a last-minute contest here.
Yeah, they're going to try and stagger into the point, but I just don't see how it's going to work. And Brent, that's the same mistake from both of these teams. The defending Reinhardts get huge shatters, but then they try and follow up in positions where you just simply cannot. Inside a room like that, Dan is 100% of the time going to die. You're not going to be able to grab enough kills there to make it worthwhile. Instead, if you get one pick, which they did, and then reset and hold them in that choke point, it's going to give you a much better advantage. These teams, they don't quite get the disengage play as well as our top teams in North America right now. At least that's what it feels like at the moment. Naga, though, looking for a wall, and this engage, great counter wall by Teru. That keeps them safe, at least for the moment, from Naga's Blizzard.
Deadeye from the off angle. They're all caught in the corridor. He finds the pick onto Fire. Sandbarrier now, huge advantage, but look at that Earth Shatter. Shredlock trying to make it work. Almost staving off a lot of that aggression, but not enough. look at the amount of investment here as well, Josh. I mean, these team fights are ridiculous. Teams just throwing out ultimates on a whim to try and clutch it out.
I mean, that was probably the most important team fight that they could have taken there. And Paris Eternal will be wiping sweat from their brow. They feel like that's done like a great job. It's not enough. There's still going to be one engagement left, and they have Sound Barrier and a Blizzard. So I would expect Vancouver Titans to try to be playing really fast with this one. If they can bait a push towards the high ground and then end up going maybe over the rafters towards the point, somewhere where they can get huge value out of the Blizzard, but they need to play that objective.
Still super winnable for them. The ult's online, the Sound Barrier, they don't want to engage, but they've given them time for the Amp Matrix. Point is going to be played here. Laying it down again, the Sound Barrier is going to be keeping them in the fight. Vancouver Titans just trying to hold on here. You can see Pride as well. Onto the point, now the Blizzard comes through. Not going to be connecting, the overtime going down. Somebody's going to try and touch. Look at the charge coming in. Shredlock, he tried to jump onto the point and he's going to survive, and he gets the kill at Elevote, gets the kill at Naga as well. What am I witnessing? Just about saving his team in the moment, and they've managed to cap it up.
That's ludicrous. This game, it just continues and continues. 4-4 on Hanamura, and both teams are given a minute left. The Vancouver Titans had a decent idea. They speed boosted out onto rafters, right? That gives them that opening to get through the choke point. And then Fried Wiener went down onto the low ground to play the objective. Paris don't have to worry. They just need to win the team fight. So they can give him a free tick, give him a free 2 ticks. That's all fine. But eventually, after the wall came up from Teru and Paris weren't able to find a kill in their Amp Matrix, eventually Dan had to drop. And at that point, Shredlock was like, yeah, I've got space to work. And he went in and made some magic happen. I don't even know what even occurred after that. Let's take a look earlier at that play from Onigon.
I mean, this is big from Onigon. Nice flash as well, leading into the kill. But that contest from Shredlock on the final point was just immense. I couldn't believe it. He charged across the point, and I thought, there's no way. He's not going to be able to touch. Hit the pillar, somehow was surviving, got the kill onto Naga, and then I believe got the Fire Strike kill onto Elevote as well.
Magic.
Just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. And now it's 1 minute apiece. Both teams with the 4 points on the board. Anyone's game as it's 1-1. This is living up to the hype.
It certainly is. Paris Eternal, though, in their previous fights have been pretty slow to actually get to the objective. Vancouver Titans aren't even giving them an opportunity.
The Paris Eternal knew they were holding close, and he knew they were going to close engage. Only got laid down the turrets preemptively, and it's causing all sorts of difficulties now for the Vancouver Titans. Gone straight into the belly of the beast. And Shredlock going down, no immortality field. They can just collect up these kills, and it's going to be a free point A.
Sometimes you've got to take risks to be able to win maps like this, but that one does not pay off for Vancouver. They were trying to play aggressively to fight them before they got into Onigon's teleporter, but they'd already prepped for it. Paris knew that it was coming, or at least suspected it, and now Vancouver are put in a really sticky position.
Really nice play, I think, from the Paris Eternal, just to preemptively as well expect that and set up the team fight for their success. I mean,
30 seconds.
those are the kind of plays in the moments.
Are you just going to teleport to point here? What do they go for? They don't have much time to work with.
Khan.
It looks like
Khan has the Amp Matrix. They can TP to the opposite side and use the Amp Matrix, and they have high ground control.
Yeah, that would be a great idea.
And it looks like they're going to do that. They're going to do that. You're going to see Khan now just trying to build up this Amp Matrix. He needs to put a little bit of damage in, a little bit of point pressure as well, forces their positioning down. They actually end up dropping, and the Amp Matrix is laid down onto the point here. The Ice Wall is going to be denying them a little bit here. Beautiful flashbang. It's going to be connecting onto a couple of targets, and now it's on either side as the overtime ticks. Blizzard coming down as well, just locking up Shredlock. Can they get the kill? He's so low. Indeed they can. The Paris Eternal rolling it forwards. They've got every single pick they could desire, and the Sound Barrier on top just to keep them nice and safe and happy. Look at this. No one will be able to touch. 6 points in Hanamura. Oh my goodness.
Give me the 6-6, baby. I want to see the reply from Vancouver. We talked about it on Gibraltar, but these teams are just whacking slobber knocker after slobber knocker at each other. They're just, it's crazy. The amount of gas they've got in the tank. It's wild. I mean, the Paris Eternal take advantage of a good read on the situation on point A, but I was worried for them. After they teleported up to the high ground and then Khan took a little too long to be able to get his amp matrix online and they had to drop to the low ground, it's getting a bit sticky at that point. But Vancouver just couldn't find the opportunity to punish their backline. And instead, the Blizzard comes through, the amp matrix comes through, even the sound barrier at the end to lock it out. And Vancouver now are in a rough position. 1 minute to do the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, good luck. And I think as well, a large part of this scoreline was off the back of the Paris Eternal reading, I think, and adapting really well on the fly. Multiple times. I think the first defense, Josh, they were playing on the point because they suspected that Vancouver might be doing a TP play, and they didn't want to get caught at the choke point. And then when they noticed, okay, Vancouver are not actually running any Symmetra, they were playing a little bit closer, and the adaptations get made. And the little scouting measurements, the information and the adaptations from the Paris is really what's keeping them in this game.
Let's take a look at how they're holding this time. Again, up on that high ground. So Paris probably looking to drop. Dan again takes that positioning over on the left-hand side from his perspective.
Yeah.
And Vancouver went for the right-hand flank. The speed boost through the hut. And
Try to split up Dan.
Paris kind of, yeah. Here goes the same May wall to initiate. That's a great flashbang.
Oh my goodness. Someone needs to help Onigod though. Beautiful immortality field. Wonderful, just lands it and saves Onigod as well. They need to try and take out a couple of these players though as Dan gets collapsed on. No heals available for him. Neptuno caught out as well. Potentially still winnable. They need to try and take down Shredlock. He's so low here. But the Amp Matrix, again, the window staving him away. It's too much damage to try and play into. And the Vancouver Titans are going to be taking this point. We might be going to the 6-6 here all the way. The never-ending game of Hanamura. Purgatory.
I don't think it's going to stop. Yeah, we are locked in purgatory forever, watching the Paris Eternal and Vancouver Titans clash. It's another El Clasico at the beginning of the 2021 season, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah. What can the Vancouver Titans do here? It feels like Shredlock's going to have to come out with some magic, because Paris have got the tools to be able to stave this one off. 15 seconds left, pushing into an Amp Matrix. But if Paris makes some mistakes with this aggressive play, it could open the door.
Okay, 9 seconds left, and they realize, okay, we forced them. They have to go through main. Maybe we can get this D-Mech here onto Fried. He's avoiding them a lot. They need to try and D-Mech him here. They're coming out from every single angle. Immortality field as well. Onigod brings down Teru. Surely that's going to be it as well as Fried goes down. No one really able to touch the point. The Immortality field onto the corner will only keep them alive for a few brief seconds, not enough to try and turn the team fight around. The Paris Eternal with a very solid hold. What a map! The Paris Eternal, 6-5, taking away Hanamura. Holy smokes! I mean, Josh, you said it at the beginning of this. You know, we were blessed last year. Got to cast the Houston-Boston match. We had some amazing moments. It was truly astounding, and it went the distance. This series is really shaping up to be almost just a glimpse into that one moment of history.
Yep, it's part 2, the sequel, Electric Boogaloo. El Clasico returns at the beginning of the season once again. And I mean, I feel like it's a fantastic clash between these two teams. I was a little worried on Oasis because Vancouver looked like by far and away the better team. And now we've seen the Rush Mirror again on Hanamura and Paris come out on top. This is anybody's map.
Woo. It certainly is anybody's map, and we're going to see how the rest of this series progresses on the other side of the break. Hopefully see a couple more heroics as well from Khan, like here on your screen. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with even more Overwatch League action.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Titans versus the Chicken. That's what this match is really shaping up to be, except the Chicken in this case is slightly more formidable than the Titan. I don't really know where I was going with that one.
It's a David and Goliath-esque tale of mythical beasts.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. I mean, I love that you managed to salvage that, to be honest. You're worth your weight in gold. But as you can see, the Paris Eternal are really kind of raring to go. I genuinely, as much as we have, there's been some scrappy moments, and we've been really playing it up a little bit. I have been, I think, impressed that the Paris Eternals adapting over the course of this series, recognizing what they needed to do from one side to the other, especially in Hanamura. It was very evident in terms of their understanding of how to take a lot of these engagements. And I think a large part of that probably does come off the back of, Neptuno as well being this guy with so much experience that we just keep hammering home about how much this guy is a veteran leader for this team.
And this is an important game for them to win. You look at the next matches that they've got coming up, going against Houston, going against Atlanta, going against Florida. This is their best opportunity to take a win in the next 2 weeks, right? Against the Vancouver Titans here.
Yeah.
And for Vancouver, it's the same kind of situation. They're 0-2 right now. They do not want to be going 0-3 because then, I mean, the Vancouver Titans schedule themselves is not that good. They're going up against the Washington Justice next, later on in this week. So both of these teams are kind of desperate to put a win on the board here against pretty reasonable opposition. And let's take a look at our McCree comparison as well. Onigod against Dalton. We saw Onigod with some big picks in that previous match, but Dalton shutting him down in a couple of other areas. And the way that the statistics look, Dalton getting the better end of it.
Certainly seems that way, although Onigod has been the one who's coming up with a lot of these clutch moments, I think. And I mean, you can see that the deaths per 10 minutes, it seems like Dalton as well prioritizing, I guess, more consistent damage as opposed to the flashy plays, the high-risk, high-reward plays that might save
Definitely
your team
not going for as many flanks.
Yes, yeah, and it's, I mean, it's up for debate how much that really plays into as well, a lot of these moments. I think Hanamura especially was saved by some heroics of Onigod from time to time. Still, we're going to be heading into a slightly different map now. Eichenwald is up next, and it's a map that suits all sorts of different playstyles, typically rush though, so we're going to be seeing a lot of the same, I think, over the course of what we have been seeing thus far in this series.
I agree with you. And now, I mean, this is Vancouver Titans fighting for their lives. But more importantly than fighting for their lives in this match, fighting for their first win of the season, they're fighting for breadsticks, Brent.
The breadsticks, yes.
Listen, if they manage to win this map, they're going to get breadsticks. I don't exactly know how it works.
I think
as soon as they win Eichenwald, I think they just spawn breadsticks. I don't
think they get the breadsticks. I think the breadsticks gets given out to fans.
Sure,
but I might be wrong.
Well, anyway, someone gets breadsticks. It's baguettes versus breadsticks right now. It's the bread bowl. That's what we've got in front of us. Eichenwald, the battle of the bread.
Yeah, the battle of the bread. All the bread enthusiasts hoping, praying that this goes to a map 5.
Please give me my gluten. Please give me my gluten here on Eichenwald.
Yep, and we'll see. I mean, it's appropriately put here. The Paris Eternal, one map away from closing out this series, and they'll be off to a great start for their 2021 Overwatch League season. A must-win situation now for the Vancouver Titans. We know they're capable of it. They played close that entire series. We know they're more than capable of it, so let's see it. Let's get some bread going in the bread bowl.
Both teams going to be rolling out with very standard compositions, what we're expecting here for Eichenwald. And Paris given a lot of room in the choke point. This map is a lot about the rotations, getting those fast engages, and finding good May walls. So far, Naga's been a little bit lacking when it comes to them. Teru, though, has some excellent ones, and that first one is good to be able to funnel Paris into a tight choke point. Naga's easily avoided there, as the rest of Vancouver back up, and neither May wall really resulted in too much.
Not finding too much done, and Teru again with another great wall. Defensive play comes out. Shredlock caught against the wall now. The Immortality Field is out though, but bursted down pretty quickly here. So they've got to be prioritizing a lot of the heals because Shredlock falling very, very, very low. Swinging away, Dan, up onto the high ground. Not sure what the play was there, but Rob will fall. It is chaotic. The Amp Matrix is laid down for both of these teams, but it seems like the Paris Eternal, the ones coming out on top.
Both teams had an Amp Matrix there and a McCree firing through it. The reason that Dan died, I think, is because he was trying to get over-aggressive because Vancouver was so weak. But at the end of the day, that health disadvantage actually was important. And Paris were able to clean them up just off the back of the additional damage coming out from their backline with Khan and Onigod. So Paris are gifted point A there. 5 minutes on the clock. Essentially, the first team fight was successful for Paris. It was a little bit backwards and forwards, and it looked sticky at times, but Paris are going to be happy with that.
An opportunity for the Vancouver Titans to try and stop them here at this choke point. You can see Shredlock. We've seen some big Earth Shatters from this guy. But Deadeye is the thing that's going to be leading it in. He wasn't expecting Onigod to just come looping around the side of that wall. The Deadeye unleashed. He's gone. A bit of an off angle again, but he realizes, okay, I'm pretty safe here. Not quite. Fried comes back round the corner. Now Dawn is in trouble as well. He's being pressured entirely now by the tank line. Fried might be getting caught out of position here. The Blizzard is going to go off without a hitch. And it will eventually mean that they're able to push this through. Don't let... Okay, Dawn ended up going down to Fried. But that's okay. That's okay. Closer spawns, everybody. Don't panic.
Yeah, no panic, no reason to panic. The Paris Eternal, though, if they had kept their Reinhardt alive, could have taken an aggressive position. They could have taken high ground and tried to play around this Amp Matrix. Instead, they're going to be really slow, and Vancouver are already there. So that kill on Dan actually was important.
See, the Amp Matrix is used, but there's no real targets for them. Self-destruct comes over the top. Not going to be finding any targets, but it does force them into unfavorable positions, and now they might be able to capitalize and collect off the back of it. You can see that wall coming out from Naga, the Earth Shatter from Dan. It's going to be connecting into the staircase. No one really able to hold a candle to it right now. And you can see, I mean, Terra's just trying to get out alive. Okay, stall himself onto the point for some reason.
Yeah, this is fine though.
Extra ult charge, yeah.
I mean, oh no. I mean, it's not fine if he actually just gets stalled like this, though.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he bought him a bit of time. He bought him a bit of time. Yeah, he was trying to
buy them time. He's not really going to be there, and his Blizzard aren't going to be there for this opening contest onto the point. So now the rest of Vancouver have to try and delay until he's back in. That comes down to Fried, but he's not able to get back into the mech.
Beautiful little Earth Shatter there, lays it in, but the Mortality Field is the thing that saved them. Dan swinging away. It really does almost feel like a coin flip sometimes with these tank engages. Just swinging away. Dan again frozen up. He managed to turn around so he wasn't quite getting headshot, but swinging. Fire goes down. Surely somebody's got to stop this man. This burly German swinging away at the doors and nobody can stop him.
No, Elefo gets back in the mech. Deru dies.
What?
Oh my word.
Deru's gone down.
They can't
but
turn this.
The staggering.
Yeah, it's it doesn't bode well for their overall focus fire. I'll say that. I feel like it's significantly lacking in this series. Both teams, when they take engages, their players just split up and start trying to fight different targets. There doesn't really seem to be that same coordination that we see from the top teams, the best rush teams that we've watched. You know, your Houston, your Shocks, your Atlantas even. Vancouver, though, trying to put the pressure up, and Dan is stuck in a really uncomfortable spot.
Yeah, great Blizzard though, I think, coming out from Naga. And look at this, they're trying to contest the point up because they've managed to go for the old wraparound. Onigod really quite low, has to back off to the safety of his team. He's going to be falling backwards. The last one standing will be Fried. And yeah, baiting them into that team fight engage, into the high ground. And they just split their attention completely because they realize, oh wait, they can't, almost at the door.
They're trying to take fights in such unusual positions. And I like this aggression from Paris, just pushing Vancouver Titans right back to their spawn door. It looks like perhaps a bit of an overextension, but when you're coming up to spawn, this is a really vulnerable area for the Vancouver Titans. So that was nice aggression from Paris. It just keeps the momentum going, stops Vancouver from being able to hold the corner, and gives them a chance in this fight, because the ultimate advantage is vastly in favor of Vancouver here. Paris need to be aggressive. Remember back to what Neptuno was saying in that little portion of interview that we said. They want to be playing fast. They want to be playing aggressively. This is the kind of look you need from Paris.
And Matrix going to be staving off a bit of that aggression, speed. Paris are definitely trying to put the fear into Vancouver Titans. You can see the Deadeye lane down. What an Earth Shatter! Come around the corner, but a great Ice Wall, not enough to stop them. The Deadeye will eventually get unleashed. And so many picks going their way. The sound barrier from Fire, fortunately only connecting onto a couple of targets. Not enough to try and keep this one going. The flashbang connects Fry, demeched as well. The Blizzard, surely that's enough. Indeed it is, despite the fact that Shredlock got off a pretty nasty Earth Shatter. Let's take a listen into the Paris comms once more.
He was the lead about to shoot.
Let's go.
Probably he shot and by the ping because of ping he couldn't.
No, what do you mean? He's
Focus
not
up, focus up, focus up, focus up.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Okay, never mind. Okay, so on defense.
There we go. On defense, and then all of his secret plans were about to be unveiled. So instead, you're back to us. You can see there that they're kind of talking about the shatter dynamic, and we've actually seen a huge amount of Earth Shatters land from both of these teams, not necessarily in the right positions to be able to follow up on. The areas where they're shattering are not shattering them in choke points or in their portion of the map, so the follow-up can't quite be there. If they try and go for it, they get overextended. But that one at the end from Dan was very good. You could hear Neptuno having a little bit of a debate with the rest of his team about whether ping played into it. At the end of the day, Paris Eternal have got to get used to that. That is reality for them in 2021. We're playing online. The Overwatch League has come up with a fantastic system to be able to make it fair across the board. But I mean, it's going to be an ongoing debate when we talk about stuff like the stage finals in Hawaii and stuff. Let's take a look at this shatter from Dan as well. Comes around the side.
Oh yeah,
a speed
that
boost
is
there towards
nasty.
the end, and just a little bunny hop past the shield. Love to see it.
Wonderful tech. And those are the kind of plays we've been seeing. I mean, you're right. We've been seeing so many Earth Shatters from both of these teams. Probably more Earth Shatters in this game than there have been over the course of the entirety of the Overwatch League this season. I mean,
you say that, but there were a lot in the Houston Shock game too.
And that is
was
true.
having a
That is
match.
true. Yeah, Django was having a match. Recency bias. Rearing its head once more. You can see, just playing around this pillar now, the Paris Eternal backing off. Just tempering a bit of this aggression now from the Vancouver Titans. And they're waiting it out.
Yeah, Paris looked like they wanted to go a little aggressive when they saw Vancouver around the side. A May wall, trying to get that Ryan in position. Good counter pin, but it's not good enough. That wall blocked off the sight line from Rolf's Immortality Field, and down goes Shredlock. Good engage from Paris, and these walls have started to get a little better from Naga, actually. Now that Paris is playing with a bit more pace, the follow-up is there, and Naga's getting in positions to wall off Shredlock more consistently, I feel. It almost feels, Brent, I don't know what, maybe the players will agree to this when we get an interview with them afterwards, assuming they win. Even that is yet to be decided, but it feels like Paris are finding their feet, getting more comfortable. Maybe the nerves have started to trickle away.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's a point I was going to bring up, but it definitely feels like the way. A lot of the first Overwatch League matches of a season for these teams, we haven't really been seeing them running at full potential yet. But Paris, you can definitely feel them warming up a little bit. And now another wall, the Amp Matrix leading into things, trying to follow it up. Unfortunately, they're just going to be backing off, but that is time gained at the end of the day.
It is. They've got to worry about Rolf's Amp Matrix here, but Paris have a lot of ults to be able to engage with. Here comes the Blizzard from Naga. Another nice, fast, aggressive push from the Paris Eternal. They've taken out Dalton, Fireweek as well, and FRD ends up getting demeched. Rolf's Amp Matrix was just way too far forwards, and Paris Eternal pushed all the way through and past.
Yep. Self-destruct off by Elevote. He just wanted to get back into the mech. Wasn't really expecting anything to get done from that ultimate. Really good teamfight win. I think a good understanding as well of what they needed to do. They knew the Amp Matrix was going. They didn't want to let them set their own pace. And now you can see the aggression coming through. Deadeye, speed boost around the corner. Instant war comes out. Onigon needs to be careful. Mortality Field was laid down from Khan to keep them alive. Earthshatter traded out, actually, from, I believe, both of these teams. Shredlock trying to get the value, and indeed he does, as Dan and Naga will fall.
And here we go, the Vancouver Titans in control of point A, one step closer to unlocking the breadsticks. I don't know whether they're focused on the match win, but I'm focused on the breadsticks. And at the moment, they're looking like they're doing decently. That last engagement was the first one where they had a foothold at the beginning. The early force out of Khan's Immortality Field, was the key to winning that fight. Onigon just overstepped his boundaries a little bit, and Khan felt like he had to throw it out. Now for Vancouver, they have the high ground disadvantage. They're playing from the low, right by that portcullis. But if they can anticipate Vancouver Titans dropping down, if they can anticipate Paris dropping down, Teru can get a preemptive Blizzard here that could be disgustingly large.
Yeah, and a lot of pressure on Elevo to try and eat this. They try and go for the engage, speed boost in. The wall from Terus. Okay, Soundbire is going to be coming out from both these teams as well. Shredding themselves out. What a self-destruct. Fried laid it over. There was nothing to stop it. The pin. A last-ditch effort from Dan just to try and get a bit more time off the point. Not enough. And the Vancouver Titans rolling this one further forward. Getting past that initial choke point. A big win for them.
And this is where I'd love to see Vancouver actually go more aggressively than this. They have a Blizzard to be able to play with. They have a Deadeye that could be crucial for like a little high ground flank halfway through. But instead they're allowing Paris Eternal all of the space they need to get back in, to take the high ground away from them, to position Onigod in a great position for his own Deadeye.
There we go. He's looking for the shadow, I think, to try and set this one up. Under the cart! Finds it onto Shredlock and Fire. Only 2 targets, but it's going to lay into the Blizzard now as it's laid down and it's freezing up, I should say. All these targets. Nice little bit of value there as the Fire Strike connects onto 2. And nobody's really able to dislodge Onigod from on high, so he's pumping in that consistent damage. He's going to walk away with a little 2-piece as his reward.
And that just felt a little too passive from Vancouver. I don't like the idea of winning a really decisive team fight and then not taking any space off the back of it. They just sat 6 people on the payload, trying to get it as far as they possibly could. That's not... You don't see the best teams in the world play rush in that kind of style. Now Vancouver patting up through the bottom. Paris need to look for a good rotation here. Whoa, that was a big flashback coming out from Dalton to stop the Paris Eternals rotation. And they're going to be able to get priority access to this payload.
Oh, wow. Okay. And Matrix, and look at that, the Icicle. Naga sends it through the Amplification Matrix, extra damage. Tero gets 1 shot from across the map. And at that point, you lose your May. It's done. Onigod falls off the map.
What? How and where did that happen?
Maybe a little bit of a roll. Yeah, maybe a roll, misstep, gliding off the side, but it's kept Vancouver in the game.
Crucial.
They were looking to try and disengage this fight, but it's rotated back around now. Paris will have to be just playing onto this bridge here. And it's going to be a brawl straight across here as we're heading into it. 50 seconds remaining. The Deadeye from Dalton. He's going to be using it just to force the positioning, pushing them back, and nobody can stop the bullets. Neptuno getting that kill, but Tero goes down once more. Self-destruct and the Blizzard, but not many targets really going to get caught up in this. Now the Sound Barrier. Fire wants to try and lead his team in. They need to play with this health point advantage, but they're walking straight into the Amp Matrix once more. No one really concentrating on Fire, but the flashbang eventually brings him down. Self-destruct from Fried. Probably not going to be doing too much work as they've got plenty of players left standing.
Yeah, Shredlock just overstepped his boundaries there a couple of times. Not able to get value out of that sound barrier towards the end, and now dire situation. Who can even touch this point? Surely Shredlock's going to be able to get up to it. Maybe Fire, the block on the Earth Shatter, that's crucial. And this Blizzard, does it even catch anybody? Onigod towards the back. That's all the damage gone for the Paris Eternal.
Oh, and this is a wonderful play. Neptuno just about missed his boop when he tried to go for the backline to try and turn it around, and it's kept Dalton back in it. And he set himself up, the Deadeye, the damage from on far. And it's just the edge they need now for the Vancouver Titans to clinch out that fight. And a minute 30 is what they're working with now. They have to try and finish with time here.
I'm on fire.
Yeah, that is an absolute necessity for them. This series would still continue if it ended in a draw, sure. We could go the entire distance and keep this bread bowl going. I'm not mad about that by any means.
Do they have enough breadsticks?
Who knows? But the Vancouver Titans are trying to push forwards. Wall to disengage as well as they just speed boost back around the corner. Still got a minute to play with here, but only really a shatter in this fight. Can Shredlock find some magic?
We've seen some wonderful work coming up from the main tank players. Lays it down again. And look at that, 2 targets. Naga and Elevo taken out of the fight. See the Amp Matrix come through just to try and stave them away once more. It is chaos, it is carnage, but it feels like Paris are just about the ones who are coming out on top here. Players are getting caught out of position. Teru has to use his Ice Wall defensively. The hammer swings are connecting onto targets that are probably not even intended. But they do disengage in time, but 25 seconds now. Final fight for the Vancouver Titans.
And this looks like Paris' opportunity to put their first match on the board in 2021.
Okay, I thought Dan was going to go for a cheeky little shadow play around the corner, but they do just that. Look at the aggression! The sound barrier is unleashed for the Vancouver Titans, but is it going to be enough, Dan? Okay, he overstepped himself a little bit, and now he's given Shredlock an in into this match. The Blizzard once again locking these players up. And it was a cutesy play by the Paris Eternal, but not well executed. Overstepping themselves again. taken out, and the Vancouver Titans, yes, they're going to get this overtime burning now, but they need to try and close it out.
Essentially no ults available, and again, Vancouver are really reluctant to take the space that's being given to them. They're just playing all around the payload. Onigod, we've seen him go for flanks before. Surely FRD would shut him down if he went to the high ground like that, and Onigod instead has had to go back to the point. Dalton taken down, that's all the damage from Paris.
Yep, Soundbarrier engage onto them. It's a huge amount of health. The shield has to be held. No one's really swinging into Shredlock, but he is so split up at the moment. Still, Naga falls again, but look at this. Onigod with the Deadeye, just to try and save the day. The shots come through and they are ringing true. Only a couple of players left remaining, and it's not going to be enough. Darn on the Wrecking Ball, and that is going to be that. The map it closed out, the Paris Eternal taking it away. That is going to be a tasty little 3-1 win.
Yeah, gorgeous final pick there as well. The opening kill from Khan as he takes down the McCree from the Vancouver Titans, takes all of that damage away as Dalton drops to the floor, and they just can't finish it out. Paris Eternal, they should be happy about that win. It looks like, from the look on their faces, they're still, you know, contemplative, very sober individuals.
Yeah, I saw it and I thought, do they know they've won? Because they are so stoic.
I mean, I think this is just the beginning of a very long season for the Paris Eternal. Perhaps their expectations were higher coming into this game. I'm not quite sure. At the end of the day, though, Paris, I really do think should be happy with this win. Like we talked about, their schedule moving forwards, Houston, Atlanta, Florida, those are difficult victories to be able to get. And so to get one on the board this early on and put the Vancouver Titans down to 0-3, that puts Paris ahead of at least one opponent when it comes to the North American standings.
Yeah, it really does. And every single win matters at the end of the day as well, because, again, shorter season, just got to reiterate that. And these matches, you know, for the May Melee Qualifiers, it does mean everything to these teams. Any sort of win you can pick up, it makes every single match that much more impactful. And I think, overall, a large part of this win has to be attributed as well to one individual player, and that's why our player of the match, presented by Xfinity, has to be going to Khan. This individual that you see in the lower right there in the cam, a lot of hype on Khan, I think, coming into the Overwatch League, and rightfully so. This guy, honestly, was pretty integral to a lot of the wins that we saw here from the Paris Eternal in this series.
Yeah, his Ana was pretty good when we were playing on Gibraltar, but what I was impressed by was how he played the Batiste. He was getting into great positions to still be able to kind of taking high ground off angles where he can still heal all the rest of his team. He's got good positioning with his amp matrices, and the immortality kills were normally pretty well timed too. And then when you factor in the X factor of him just being damaged from the backline and getting such crucial kills, that I think just tips it over the edge.
It really does. I mean, the guy is pretty ludicrous, and he was one of the shining examples for this team that we were really excited about, I think, coming into this. But you could tell, like you said, in his Baptiste play, the extra damage, the extra pressure that he's applying from the back line. I mean, we've seen what players like Violet can do on the Baptiste, and even the McCree when he decides to flex over to it. So it's a role that demands a lot of mechanical skill, and if you have somebody in that position, and they're really enabled, and they're able to, you know, make those clutch plays happen, you know, you walk away with the win like Paris did here today. A wonderful, wonderful showcase of skill, honestly. A little bit disappointing because the Vancouver Titans, again, not going to be getting those breadsticks.
No breadsticks.
Once again, no breadsticks. I mean, we got the bread bowl, but we didn't get the breadstick.
Yeah, we got baguettes instead, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just astounding bakery skills, I think, coming out from Paris as well. I mean, they're really, really well known for it. Anyway, got an interview for you as well. We've got Paris, or not Paris, I should say, or we do have Paris, I suppose. Neptuno down on the floor, and I believe it's Danny. Take it away.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to Game Break, presented by Pringles. My name is Danny Lim, and I am here joined by Neptuno from Paris Eternal. Hi, Neptuno.
Hello.
Hi. So, your team consists of former OWL players and rookies alike, and you personally are as OG a player as it gets. Are you taking a bit of a leadership, like the team captain role, I guess you could say?
Yeah, a little bit, but other people are also like very like talkative and they know what to do. So there is not much pressure about it, but I wanted to make sure today that we play without fear, and I felt like first map we play like kinda scared, and then we actually started to play our game.
Yeah, I think after the first round, you guys probably gained the momentum, and that's how you got the dub. Congratulations. And also, this was your debut match, your Paris Eternals debut match for the season. How did you guys actually prepare for your match against the Vancouver Titans today?
We've been playing for so long, and we've been practicing like every kind of comp, like dive, like the break midstone, the rush, and also the spam comps. Against Vancouver, we felt like we will beat them on the mirror on rush, so we just took this matchup. We know how to play other comps, but we felt comfortable against them on this. So because we know how to play the matchup, we just mirror the whole time.
And it worked perfectly, and that's how you got the win. Congratulations again, Neptuno, and thank you so much for the post-match interview. Guys, I am done. Let's head back to the desk with Zoe.
Danny Falls, Prophet, Lim, and Neptuno. Congrats to the Paris Eternal. Let's take a look at the schedule for the rest of the day, because we have one more match coming up. The Gladiators are hoping to bounce back from a disappointing 0-2 start in week 1. So now it is time for some positive reinforcements, but I mean, we have to question like how many positive things did we really see there in their first 2 matches. Jonathan, we saw a lot of different comps coming out for them. We saw some Rhine comps, Ana comps, a Zen comp, which really didn't get too much done either.
Yeah, they didn't play a ton of Zenyatta, but I wanted to take a look at an example of what happened with the Gladiators this past week. So we can play this clip out, and we can actually see them play a spam composition with Ashe and Zenyatta playing the high ground here on point B of Blizzard World. But with this as well, they have a Wrecking Ball and they have a Tracer. So they're actually going to go for a bit of a dive here featuring Muse and Kevster. So you can see that the game plan is a little bit all over the place. To accompany this game plan, space is actually going to fall back as these dives come through. So you can see that these players are just a little bit all over the place. The minefield comes out, it's a bit too early, they aren't able to capitalize on Hanbin approaching a little bit. And all while this is happening, Kevster also finds himself in the backline. But I think he should contest Sparkle on this payload. So the Gladiators aren't really playing this composition to its fullest potential in my opinion. Now, the fight is going to reset. Kevster is going to make his way to the cart and contest Sparkle for this positioning. The thing is, next error. Kevster is not going to get the Harmony Orb from Shu on the Zenyatta. And at that point, why are you really playing the Zenyatta? You're not really trying to win this Tracer battle. Instead, Kevster, he has to retreat to the Mega Health Pack all the way over to the other side of the map. And while this is happening, Muse gets Graviton Surge, and Kevster makes his way to the backline of the Dallas Fuel. Now, Kevster, you have to give him credit, because he's actually really good at this. He finds a pick onto Jexay on this Brigade. But it's not really helping the composition the LA Gladiators are playing, because while this is happening, Sparkle is over here pushing the payload and taking all this space that you're trying to protect with this Zenyatta and Ashe composition. So instead, we have space peeling off Fearless on the Winston, and then he ends up chasing the Tracer as well, and it becomes a manhunt. They even drop from the high ground. Birdring is over here dropping from the high ground. We have Shu dropping from the high ground, and they're forfeiting all of this position that is so crucial to this composition. Instead, Dallas Fuel, they're going to take advantage of this. Fearless is coming back from spawn, and they're just going to take this high ground for free, essentially. So, as we take a look at this, a lot of miscommunication with the LA Gladiators. They aren't playing this composition to its fullest potential, and they're a bit discombobulated, in my opinion. So, a lot of errors with the LA Gladiators last week. I think they didn't play this composition too much, but I think this was a prime example of how things go wrong in these team fights and with the game plans for the LA Gladiators. So going into this week against the London Spitfire, you need to play a composition that you're, in unison with what the game plan is. You have to do your job as well, because we can't just have space trying to help out Kevster all the time, because then he's not going to protect Muse. They need to figure out some of these mistakes and get back to the fundamentals and basics of some of these compositions if they want to perform against the London Spitfire.
I mean, I guess the Gladiators now did have an entire week to, sort themselves out a little bit, rewatch the tape and go again. And that's what we're going to see against the London Spitfire. Now, it is time for Pringle's bold predictions. Costa, are you feeling bold today?
I am feeling bold, and I know, don't get mad at me, it does have to be bold, and I'm going to agree with Johnny here. I think that they can look a lot at what happened last weekend, make these adjustments. They are great players. On paper, they are one of the best teams, in my opinion, in the league. So I'm actually expecting Gladiators to come out hard and fast against the London Spitfire, a new rookie roster coming into the league. I'm actually taking Gladiators for a clean 3-0 against the London Spitfire, and I actually don't think it's going to be particularly close as well. That's my bold prediction. That's what I'm expecting for Gladiators to just be that extra firepower and really sort of put a pin in everybody. Say, is Gladiators overhyped?
I don't know. What about you, Bren, Sideshow? Do you feel like that's a bold prediction? That's not even in my book. That's not a hot take. For me, that feels slightly lukewarm. I don't know.
Are you kidding me?
I think that is quite bold because it's a lack of respect for the Spitfire. To be honest, like that is actually really disrespectful. I'm quite high up on this team. I was with Johnny actually in terms of my predictions, expecting London to squeak this out. I think it's going to be a close series because, again, I think teams are going to be trending towards the rush comps. But, yeah, overall, I think this is going to be a really, really nice series. And we're going to get our first look at London as well, which is sort of, you know, pretty nice as well. But, yeah, thanks for your analysis, Desk. We'll see you guys on the other side of things. You know, I realized I didn't let you speak much. It was really just me speaking and talking. You know, the entire point of it was supposed to be a little bit of crosstalk. I just took the wheel with it. Josh, what do you think about that?
Oh, I'm getting an opportunity to talk. Thank you.
Yeah, I give you permission.
Now, I think this is going to be a good match. The main things that I'm looking at are whether this roster from London, we talk about it being a rookie roster. These guys know how to win. They are the core of the most dominant team that European Contenders has ever produced. So they've already come into the league with an advantage in terms of getting their fundamentals down, getting the team play down. They know how everybody else on their team likes to play. So I'm wondering whether that can give them the boost necessary to make this a close game. I definitely feel like that's a bold prediction coming out from Scott, from Caster, to say that the Gladiators are going to rebound and immediately come back to where we expected them to be, which was crushing teams.
Yeah, for sure. And as well, I mean, we've already seen them kind of slipping up a bit. A week gives you a bit of time to prep, don't get me wrong. But let's take a look at the Gladiators as well and their starting roster that they're going to be rolling out with. And this is a team that, I mean, the guys on the desk have mentioned it. They are absolutely stacked with talent. I mean, every single position is just filled with an absolute superstar.
Yes, but they're not playing that well together at the moment, and that's why they find themselves down 0-2. The Scrimbucks were very kind to the Gladiators coming into this season. There were a lot of people who were slurping up that Scrimbucks juice that had Gladiators at the #1 position. That did not pay off in our first week. And so if you buy into Custer's kind of narrative, this is their opportunity to come back and show everybody why they were so highly rated coming in. Maybe that first week, things just weren't quite working, a bit of nerves, coordination or communication issues, but if they can come back here and rebound with a big couple of wins in this week against London and against Boston, the narrative is going to start to shift for the Gladiators, and they need that.
And on the other side of things, you've got, of course, the London Spitfire. And this is a squad that I think as well, a lot of people not really expecting too much from them, but I mean, I want to set people's expectations right. I mean, the core of this roster coming from, obviously, you know, the British Hurricane squad, and this is a team that has had, honestly, just a dominant performance in EU contenders. And I think that their understanding of how to play rush compositions as well, in particular, is really what's going to set them apart from a lot of the teams in these early tournaments. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that they're probably going to be the underdogs coming into this match, but even still, I think that you cannot underestimate them in the slightest.
Take a look at the power rankings with IBM Watson of all of these players. They don't have any because they didn't play last week. And only a few of these players even played last year, too. Shax was fantastic with the LA Valiant. Reaper is actually playing here against his former team as well. He took a year out of the league, but he was previously on the Gladiators as part of that trio support core with himself, Shaz, and Big Goose. They ended up, you know, shifting everything this season and going with Shu and Moth instead. But I like to think that this is Ripper's opportunity to say to the franchise, you should have fielded me. You should have invested in me because I took my time, went back to contenders, and I'm now a bit of a phenom.
I love those stories, the redemption arc stories. I mean, we've seen it happen in the league before. We might see it here today as we're heading into Busan as the first map here. The Gladiators versus the Spitfire, and it's a map where you see some rush compositions, you see some double bubble. The control maps, I think, I don't know if you agree with me here, Josh, they tend to be sort of trending towards, I suppose, more Winston gameplay. Just the nature of them in general as well. They can chop and change. It really does depend.
It does depend a lot. I mean, we've seen on the on 2 of the stages for Busan, on Shrine and then on the city center as well, we've seen teams opt into a lot of ball compositions actually. And then on Mecha Base, we've seen people play a lot of Rhine. I feel like Busan is a very open map right now, but I would anticipate the Gladiators to come out on this ball composition to begin with. It seemed like something they were trying a lot last week. It didn't really work out for them. I'd like to see it again here today. They've got a huge amount of poke if they choose to, and I don't think it's going to be the kind of comp that favors London necessarily.
Yes, I'm inclined to agree with you, and these teams are just kind of teasing a variety of different roles. We don't know what they're going to be playing just yet, but this particular section of Busan is very open. You can see them. Okay. Looks like the Gladiators are locking this one in. Going to be playing this composition. What is this from London? Molfig playing the Orisa.
Yeah, this is very unusual. Okay, no idea how this comp is going to work. I assume Molfig's going to set up on the point and just be tanked by the Ana, and then Hadi's going to run Disruption with Shax. I mean, I'm assuming that's how it's going to function, but it doesn't actually look like they want to take point control that well. I'm just thinking how this would even work. They have a large amount of poke from the backline and Disruption from Hadi. So Space should find his life to be a little difficult.
Yeah. And they just dive onto the backline here. They're caught out of line of sight, and they're going to get ripped to pieces almost immediately there. Calyx and Ripper, unfortunately not enough. Yeah. Hybrid does bring down Kevster, but despite the early point flip, it's probably going to be going straight away back to the Gladiators.
I don't know why the London Spitfire are opting into this, but I hope over the course of this round we'll be able to see kind of how the comp is designed to work. This backline seems extremely diveable here for Kevster and Muse, and Shax and Hadi can't really try to keep those in check because they have to be trying to apply pressure themselves. Ooh. That's a great pick though. Ripper, presumably with a bit of a right click there, just snipes Birdring from a distance.
Yeah. I imagine it's this composition is I imagine it's quite reliant on the sleep darts, the halts as well, just trying to disrupt as well. You can see AD coming in. Hadi, I should say, a lot of damage being pumped into them there. Moth will go down almost easily. Almost too easily. The mine's still available now and might choose to let them rip onto the point, and they're being split apart. Transcendence forced out. And again, the Wrecking Ball will go down. Birdring finding that one. Shaq's still alive though, and we've seen what this guy can do on the Tracers. The point gets flipped back over. Shu falling as well. I believe that was a halt into the Discord Orb.
Yeah, it could have been the Supercharger as well, because Molfig laid that down on the objective.
Yep.
And that just applies so much extra damage to Hybrid. Hybrid and Reaper from the backline is doing a lot of work. You saw in that team fight how uncomfortable it is to be Space against Shax, against Hybrid, against Hadi. He's getting booped around by the ball. He has to try and contest an Orisa that's set up on the objective. And then he's got a Tracer harassing him from all sides. I think the key here is to try and just poke from a distance if you're the Gladiators.
Ooh, okay. Molfig ends up falling. I believe that was the post bomb that was committed onto him. Huge amount of burst damage now. You can see it's a Nano Visor. The rare Nano Visor coming out here to play. Kevster's recall going to get forced out. And yeah, Shax again feasting. The Space goes down. Still looking pretty solid as it stands for the Gladiators. They do win out this team fight, and with Bob on the point, they're just going to be able to flip this over. But a very, very back and forth match.
Definitely. And now that they're in control of the point, this is when Muse and Kevster need to be syncing up. They need to find and communicate to each other good opportunities to get onto Calyx and Ripper. Now Molfig has actually moved over to the Sigma too, so we've got a bit of a mirror, except that the backline is a little weaker for the London Spitfire, and they have a soldier rather than the Ash.
You can see this gravitic flux from Space is being pressured heavily. No one's able to follow this up, in fact, because the Transcendence comes through. Reaper going to be keeping everybody alive, but it's all good. Birdring is there, ready and waiting. Now Space slowly going to be taking back this map control, not letting them flip this point back over. The Accretion connects, but the Pulse Bomb almost good here, and never Accretion yet. Space going to be finding that kill into Molfig. Muse setting up maybe for the dive. Doesn't want to commit just yet into this one. 85% and counting. London still want to be able to recontest this one. Muse is in trouble, being pressured heavily. Has to back off, has the Harmony Orb. But he'll be back into the fight momentarily.
They really were so weak there, and Discord Orbed, and they just didn't look like they really had a good idea of what they wanted to do. Kevster goes into the back, but it's not coordinated with any pressure from Muse. But that Birdring pick onto Shax is probably going to turn things around in Gladiator's favor.
The Mines comes through the overtime. Someone's got to touch this one. London struggling to get any sort of foothold here. And there you go. Birdring getting that pick off as well. No one able to touch. It was only up to Hardy, and it's not going to be happening. 100%. 1 round on the board for the Gladiators, but it was a little bit strange, I think. You could definitely tell the Gladiators were trying to figure out how to play around the composition that London had come out with. A bit of a curveball.
Yeah, and the more curveballs you can throw at your opponent, the more you're going to force them to adapt to you. If you have a good idea of what you're doing, it puts the pressure on Gladiators to adapt on the fly, and that's actually been something that they have really struggled with, both historically and recently in last week.
We've seen it
Take a look at this replay as well. This was Birdring shutting down Shaxx and then just going on a killing spree towards the end. This is what the Gladiators needed him to do, though, because he's not pressured by another long-range hit scan. Hybrid's playing Soldier. Birdring should be free to just farm.
It's a different change of pace now as we're heading over to this particular section of Busan, and you're going to see, look at these rush compositions. The Ice Wall's already up, ready and waiting. Molfig getting caught out of position here. The Immortality Field is not good. Charge comes through off the side. A lot of damage, but not converting into any sort of kills. And you can see the Gladiators are the ones who are large and Charge in control of the early teamfight pressure.
London going for a different comp line with the Rhine, with the Zarya. They have to play around the opportunities that those Zarya bubbles provide. So Gladiators are going to want to be disengaging and then re-engaging back after they've baited out Zarya bubbles. That puts a lot of coordination is required to be able to pull that off. Again, something the Gladiators struggled with a little bit previously. There's a disengage.
Wow.
Great punish on Reaper.
Yep. Disengage into the Amp Matrix. Way too much damage to try and hold on to be honest. The London Spitfire have to give up that team fight. And the good news for them is that, you know, it's only 30% so far on this point. They force out an ultimate. It sets them up nicely now for their own re-engage, their own amplification matrix.
See where the teleporter ends up going here from Hybrid. It's something that the London Spitfire's composition obviously has access to. But, okay, just using it to cross the sight line, and immediately Shu goes down. That Amp Matrix came up so fast, and Shu's head just got taken clean off.
Yeah, they were not ready for that. I mean, that was really quick coordination coming out from London. They flipped the point, and now they're going to be rotating all the way around. A Deadeye just to try and stall this one out. They have to remain careful. Earthshatter comes through. Was Hattie actually connecting onto a couple of targets, but not enough again. The Gladiators understood pretty well what they had to do there. And with nobody to try and stop Birdring with that Deadeye coming off from the far distant side of the point, it was a pretty unwinnable scenario, I'd say, for the London Spitfire.
Yeah. Yeah, they, even after that initial pick, the rotation that they made just left their backline completely open to Muse landing a shatter. And even though the Immortality Field went down, it didn't last long enough. Now London are coming back in. They've got their grab to try and work with, but no charge here yet on Molfig. Only able to get 12, oh, there we go, 30% off that bubble. So a little bit of damage gained.
It's really not ideal. Reaper goes down as well. That wasn't even using the amplification matrix. It's going to mean they don't have the Immortality Field. They have to get value now out of this grab. But it's a beautiful Immortality Field from Shu. What a boop! Wonderful from Calyx, taking them out of the Immortality Field and bringing them just low enough for them to just collect those kills.
Yeah, really well played. That's gorgeous. The Lucio's impact is often hidden in the middle of team fights, but there's an obvious example of the value that somebody like Calyx can bring. One of the veterans played with the Boston Uprising previously in their run. Was actually part of their perfect stage as well. There it is, that boop just landing right outside the Immortality Field that Shu had laid down.
Another early team fight being taken here by the Gladiators, and they've already taken down the main tank on the opposition side. A bit of a troubling scenario, I think, for the London Spitfire now. They just want to try and stall this one out. It seems like they realize, okay, we're going to be losing this fight. Just dying on the point, getting as much percentage as possible. And they have another opportunity to recontest that.
They do. They're losing players, staggering a little bit. Kempster oversteps his boundaries there, so they're not going to have a May to try and hold close. Nevertheless, one fight territory for the Los Angeles Gladiators. The Deadeye is going to buy them time for Kempster to get back in here, so if Birdring can get set up, they know what they want to go for. Again, it's about anticipating these teleports as they come through.
The Sim Wall could be massive here just to try and stop a lot of this damage coming out. It's a big Deadeye. The Ice Wall's going to be blocking off the line of sight. Birdring wants to hold on to it because he wants to let it loose. Not going to get the opportunity to. Yeah, he might have even been able to burst down that symbol. He was holding it that long. The Earth Shadow onto Muse. Knocks him down. The pin as well into the corner, but he's frozen up. Not going to be able to get the damage done. Muse lays off his own Earth Shadow. He does manage to find a hybrid off the side of it, and the Gladiators are more than capable of following up on that much damage as the overtime starts to tick over. No more players realistically can hold up against the Gladiators, and you can see final moments now as the players are just about stopping, just trying to throw the bodies onto the point in a last-ditch effort. But no casualties for the Gladiators. They're going to be taking this map and leading the series early on 1-0.
Yeah, there were some nice moments there for the London Spitfire, but it just wasn't enough to get them over the line against the Gladiators, who go up to an early map lead on Busan. Some mistakes there for sure from London, but some signs of life. So this series is anything but one right now. The Gladiators, remember, are 0-2, whereas this is the first time we've ever seen London. We don't know how they're going to fare on a range of compositions. They are going to be tested. Both teams are, in fact, as we head deeper and deeper into this series.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think as well, we're starting to see, well, you can't really quite underestimate a lot of these unknown teams coming in. That was a very, very close game despite the scoreline. We're going to find out just how close it can really get on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to see the continuation of this series right up after this few short moments. Messages, break, minutes, who knows?
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Make your picks for the May Melee Tournament Qualifiers for the chance to win $500 and a May statue. That's right, go to pick'em.overwatchleague.com to play, and you can compete with, the analysts, everyone, your friends, your family. Get everybody involved. Why not? Earn the chance. Maybe, might just win that $500 in the May statue. And here's our power rankings with IBM Watson as well, just to give you the stats you might need. And there's Space, the one player, the one time we've got here, as you can see, just about getting into that 20th spot. And, honestly, pretty good showing, I think, given the fact that Gladiators are currently 0-2.
Yeah, it's been interesting watching the Gladiators tank line, to be honest, because a lot of attention was on them last season, OG and Space. And Space squeaking into that 20th position, basically, that's middle of the pack, right? That's almost dead even when it comes to our standings, when it comes to our North American standings. That's not exactly where the Gladiators thought they would be this season. So they're going to want to shift him and Muse way up there as a result of team success. If they want to succeed on their goals of making it deep this season and looking like a contender for the title at the end. As we go into our next map, we see Blase subbing in for Shax, which I think indicates that we're going to see less Tracer being played. It was definitely viable on a couple of those instances there on Busan, and Shax, I'm imagining, is going to be their Tracer specialist. But now as we move on to Havana, that's probably not going to be what comps they end up running with.
Absolutely, yeah. And here's the Havana map that we're going to be heading into. You see, honestly, a variety of different stuff the teams are playing. Some of them play Rush, some of them play double shield compositions, but here is our map leaderboard presented by Xfinity as well. You can see the Gladiators actually were the recipients of a pretty nasty time bank playing against the Shock back in 2019. Hopefully, or I say hopefully for the London, maybe Gladiators not going to be hoping for something similar like that to be happening in this series. I think the Gladiators would love to be opening things up with a nice 2-0 lead, but we definitely have seen that the London Spitfire are no slouches. They are not quite on the process of just really giving up just yet. A very competent team when it comes to, I think, a variety of compositions, and I'm really interested, Josh, at these curveballs, these different comps that they're throwing out, because it's like you said in that previous map, if you make the opposition think and adapt to you, that can be your advantage moving forwards, and that can be enough to throw some teams off guard.
Ready for battle.
I feel like it's quite unlikely on this map. I think instead the roster that the London Spitfire have chosen to field indicates to me that they just want to run Rush. Especially on defense here, they're going to get to set the pace. And the Gladiators we've seen have some responses to this. In their matches, we've already seen that. Now, take a look at this factoid thread. I was amazed when I read this. The last time these two teams played against each other in the middle of 2019, Havana wasn't even released. It wasn't in the game.
Wow.
London have taken a year off, played in the APAC region, and come back to NA playing with a full EU team. This really is a brand new year for London, and they want to start it off well with a win here on Havana. This will be the first map that they take in 2021 if this Rush defense is able to work.
And the aim of the game here now for the London Spitfires to get an early pickoff. What a flashbang into the wall. Great coordination from the London squad. Able to collect up that one. You can see Space is playing the Sigma here, so it's a little bit more consistent damage. He was trying to take that off-angle approach, but a nice clean disengage as well. London get the pick and they get out.
The off-angle is going to be good for doing consistent damage towards the backline of the London Spitfire, seeing if he can find a pick. I'm not really sure. I think that the Gladiators could try and run this a little more slowly, but there you go. Hardy falls, Ripper down as well, and at the end of the day, these forward aggressive defenses are just trying to take time off the clock. Everyone knows they're going to lose eventually. It's just how many team fights can you win? And 1 minute off the clock is not that bad. Pretty decent for London.
Yeah, pretty decent, A little bit of miscommunication in that team fight with Hardy getting caught behind the wall, I think, as well. Kevster just trying to do a bit of work here. Now the Gladiators are looking to set themselves up in a good position for this next fight. Moving forward, they do have the Amp Matrix. It's probably going to be looking at that coming out from probably either side. Birdring might be able to get in position as well with his Dead Eye.
They flipped the map, and that's important. Birdring getting up there, takes down the May. That is absolutely pivotal. Now Hattie's looking like he's in a much more dangerous position. Hybrid's got to get some work done behind this Ant Matrix.
Yeah, the Ant Matrix not allowing him too much. The angle was a little bit off here, and you can see the Blizzard being laid in by the Gladiators. Both the tanks locked up here, unable to do too much. And it is just buying time at this point. All set up off the back of Birdring with a nice little flank play, the flashbang fan and the hammer.
Yeah, very nicely played there. They read exactly what London Spitfire wanted to go for. This rush composition always wants to go up on the high ground and flip the map against you when it defends in order to land on the payload and stop the progress. London are going to be able to get another fight here again. A lot of ults available. Spaces is quite dangerous though. Here we go, the Flux and the Deadeye. Not quite combined together, but it forces out the sound barrier from Kellex.
And the Immortality Field, a bit of an overlap there. Playing on this point with one less resource. The Earth Shadow laid down, but Muse holds the shield. Well played from him! And look at that, as Hattie goes for the charge in the end. Not going to be working out, it just opens them up still. The Blizzard is enough, and it's going to be enough to just seal this team fight away, as the Gladiators are stopped just short of the objective. A brutal place to be held at, to be honest. We've seen countless times. You remember back, Josh, that Shock Houston game that we watched last week? I mean, this area right here can be so difficult to push through.
And this is why a lot of teams like to run Rush, because it gives you opportunities to take 3 fights before point A even gets captured. Space has gone over to the D.Va here. Hybrid pushing forward, a bit of a speed boost to flank around the side. Can he catch Moth? Not quite.
The team was well versed in terms of not overstepping their boundaries, and now with this window down, it's going to be providing a bit of extra damage now for the Gladiators. London just playing it backwards, but they need to start trying to contest. The sound barrier comes through from Moth. It gives them a huge health advantage. The Gladiators just need to consolidate now, focus up as they take out the remaining players now of the London Spitfire. They do just that, so they are about to get this objective with 30 seconds on the clock. There you go, a nice bit of extra time as a reward to try and push now through this middle point for Vanna.
Well played by the Gladiators there. They funneled the entirety of London into a corner and got huge value out of that sound barrier that Moth had online. Now, Gladiators trying to take as much space as is offered to them. They want to make it difficult for the London Spitfire to take this high ground, to fight over these areas. And they don't want to put themselves at a disadvantage. That's a lot of happy little skulls there.
Yeah, it was. Hybrid ends up cancelling the Deadeye. London just backing off, starting to play the rotation here because they want a good position for this next fight, and they've already rotated back around, and they're going to be trying to fight them off of the high ground now.
Good move,
dangerously close.
That's nice from space. Look at those London players that are just stuffed on the floor now, and this payload keeps on moving. This puts a lot of pressure on London to get back into a situation where they can actually fight properly.
It's a weird fight though, because they gave up high ground, and Gladiators immediately recognized that it was a dangerous scenario. The ice wall goes up. Now Gladiators trying to turn this again. The window comes through. Kevster has to be staying in his ice block form just to stop taking as much damage. Still, London finding the win. Just slowly but surely grinding out the team fight. And again, it was a little bit scrappy. You could tell the Gladiators realized the importance of holding this staircase right here, the high ground control, because they were just giving it up, pushing it up, and they were worried about being collapsed upon. And it just ended up leading into this weird teamfight position. And now, Josh, look at this!
I mean, this is a strange teamfight position. I haven't seen many teams be this aggressive in their defense. Wow, they have just crushed them inside this room. What is that shadow?
The wall! It was the wall! Ended up working against them. I believe that was Blaze's. And Hardy just couldn't quite get it going for them. They force out the ultimates early as the Blizzard is unleashed.
Wow.
Ultimately not going to be getting too much out of it. Yeah.
That was absurd. I mean, it's got to be the wall, right? But Hattie was just woofed straight up into the ceiling at the same time as Muse hit a shatter onto, I think, 4 people and just ripped a hole into the London Spitfire's defense. They're going to be able to recontest again, though. This is the advantage of the Rush Cup. They get so many team fights.
Hybrid kept alive by the Immortality Field around the corner. The sound barrier comes through. Muse so low. He has to be healed up onto this car. Swinging away at him. Flashbang over the head. Hardy going to be blocking that one, and it set his team up. He's still alive. Still just holding on for dear life. Moth now using the sound barrier. And with that, that should just about get the job done. And again, 30 seconds left, but the Gladiators just about winning it out. And now they're pushing here, the final section of Havana.
London have done a great job at just taking time off the clock. all of these aggressive fights that they've taken, 3 team fights on point A, 3 team fights on point B as well, and now the Gladiators have barely anything to work with. We want to see aggression again out of London here. They need to find good areas of the map to fight over, like this house that they're quite close to, or this little tower area that they're fighting around now. Again, both Rhines getting close to these ultimates, but it's Ripper who launches the first one.
See the ults being used. Space tried to engage with the South Destruct, but gets punished off on the flank here. And Morpho already finding work done. Gladiators going to be losing this team fight out. If they can get a pick-off or a D-mech at the end of it, they'd be happy, but they do just that. Morpho ends up using the South Destruct so he can get back into the mech. Doesn't want to be caught out with one less tank because he realizes, okay, the Gladiators are respawning. They're slightly closer than us, which means they're going to be getting into this fight. Good disengage from London.
And again, time off the clock. The Gladiators, as soon as they step forwards, as soon as they go around the corner, again, London Spitfire trying to put the pressure on them. There's a Deadeye to force the Gladiators back, and London are going to be able to take another fight in a close point.
Oh my goodness! The Gladiators thought they were safe, but not in the clutches of Hardy. He was forged in the fires of Europe, and he comes out big, and look at that, straight to the spawn door. The disrespect! They want to be holding them right at their doors.
This is the aggression, this is the decisiveness that you need from top rush teams. London Spitfire at least making the decisions to play like one, trying to get damage on everybody, seeing if they can force out ultimates early on. The Gladiators bullying their way out of spawn. Kevster's ult could be huge here as well. Alex has a beat to be able to counter it with. Look at the smile pasted on his face. Doesn't even look like he's moving.
Yeah, he's loving it. Okay, frozen up off of the side. He's going to be backing off here. Kellix gets caught. Okay. I don't know if his camera's frozen or if he was just really feeling confident about that fight, but it doesn't work out for them. The freeze as well. The Gladiators, I mean, they're just rolling this one forward. It was looking so good for the London Spitfire, but they're getting caught out. The disengage not quite clean enough. Hybrid with the Deadeye does not get the kill. Now the sound barrier comes in. Kellix keeping his team alive. They need to get a pick-off. Beautiful wall. Is going to connect onto Muse, but the sound barrier just about again connects onto him, keeping him alive. The Gladiators again grinding this one forwards. The damage is immense, and they're finding pickoff after pickoff. No players, no casualties for them. Birdering is having a field day out here, and they are going to be able to eventually capture all the way to the end of Havana. But my word, did London make it hard for them. Let's take a listen into the Gladiators comms.
These guys know how to play against a Sigma. They're just gonna keep running at Muse.
Yeah, they're just gonna brain dead rush to Muse. So ready to carry him.
Yeah, we need to play Muse play really passive.
Feel free to change Diva if you want.
Yeah, well, but I think we can get like 3 minutes.
Well, there we go. The Gladiators are kind of discussing what they want to do there as well. But yeah. I think the big takeaway from that, more so than the specific stuff that they're talking about, is the respect and the adaptation that they're thinking about in this match. They have got all 3 checkpoints on Havana, but the London Spitfire really did make them fight for every inch. And I mean that in a very literal sense. London were getting at their spawn doors on both B and C, making the Gladiators fight and putting the pressure on them. You heard Space discuss about whether or not they wanted to run the Sigma, thinking about swapping between them. And let's take a minute to just dive into that a little bit too. The Sigma is good at being able to control off angles. He has the shield for people like Birdring or maybe even Shu to be able to play behind, depending on how they want to do it. And you can play this kind of more slow-paced split rush composition that's designed to just grind out your opponents. And if they try and go aggressive onto space, the other core of the team, Kevster and Muse, are going to try and punish that with walls, with aggression. So that's the general idea. It's something that Mayhem have been trying out a lot in their games too. It ends up getting countered by high tempo, but it has to be very well coordinated. So let's see whether London have got enough to be able to go toe-to-toe and tackle this slight adaptation from the Gladiators.
See what they can do here. They're a little bit worried as well about Space being caught out of position, but it seems like Birdering is the one who's coming out on top. Kellix getting that pick off, a bit charge into it, and this is good for the London Spitfire. An even fight means they're in a pretty good position. If they end up winning this team fight out as well, Muse solo cannot be kept alive for much longer, and Space just going to be opting to just fall on the cart to buy a bit more time. But a quicker attempt now on London's attack. They end up clearing out the rest of the Gladiators before they can really set up and drag off some time.
Yeah, it's roughly around 30 seconds quicker here that we're seeing this time for the London Spitfires attack. Those kind of margins, though, they really don't make that much difference. It depends on which team fights you win. London want to fight over that staircase. It looked like they were going to wall it there.
What a wall.
Great wall coming out from Blase.
It's a wonderful attempt here, but again, caught out of position. It's the flashbang into the freeze. It's deadly for the main tanks. You've got to respect it. And it's a disengage. If they do respect it, London realize, okay, we're not taking this fight whatsoever. We're backing immediately. Gladiators want to try and get any sort of value they can off the back of it. Maybe a pickoff or two. And they do just that. Kelix goes down, so that's going to be buying them just a tiny bit more time. Every single second counts.
And it's still good aggression. Gladiators pushing all the way up to the spawn, but they don't want to hold the spawn again. They want to hold the most defendable location, which is this corner now that the payload is here. And London are going to find it difficult to get in through the choke point. They're going to need to burst through the choke point and avoid the flux in some way, because Kelix does not have his sound barrier to counter it. If they can bait out a flux here, that would be huge.
Amp Matrix into the fire strike. They were ready and waiting for it, actually. Aided up with the defense Matrix. Shield being held here for Muse. He has to charge out of the way of the Blizzard here. Ruby getting caught, but does stay alive still. And Moth, what is that from the up angle? Muse laying down the shatter into the Gravitic Flux. Okay, Space trying to make it work, but ends up falling regardless of that. Still, the Gladiators win out the team fight. That's the important point here. And they're going to be holding this still.
You could see that London's tempo management was pretty decent as they came up to the payload. They slowed things down, waiting to see if the Gladiators were going to make an aggressive move, trying to save their speed boost. And then when they realized that Gladiators weren't going to be the team to initiate, they took the initiative and pushed in with their Blizzard, trying to get value out of Blase. Didn't work this time around, though, but Gladiators used a lot of ults in the previous time, and they're going, wow! That's the fire strike through the Amp Matrix. Deadly.
That got so much value, and it's off the back because Space isn't playing the Diva. There's nothing to counteract that. He got so much work done. And it's a one-hit kill combo if you manage to hit one of the squishy targets at the back. Instant teamfight win for London off the back of that.
That is not bad whatsoever. Moth's had a hard run of it this time around in the Overwatch League. Coming into this week, Moth actually had won 0 maps because the only maps that Gladiators had managed to take away in their double 1-3 losses, Moth was not in. It was Shu and Skewed in the backline. He's already resolved that curse, though, with the win on Busan, and now he's looking to make it 2-0 in week
magic.
2.
Wonderful little headshot, booping him off the high ground as well. London cannot afford to really take this fight any further. They're just going to get staggered out if they stay into this. Gladiators finding value. I mean, Kevster, how many times have we seen him just pull out these ridiculous shots, just opening it up?
Definitely. His May has been very decent for the Gladiators. But I think Blase is one of those players that you can't underestimate, too. On these heroes that are more to do with the macro sense of the game, or even on some of his pocket picks, like something like Doomfist, London's DPS line can look scary. And his walls so far have been pretty decent. The question is how they battle with this high ground disadvantage. As they push in here, they're up against so many tools. They have the Amp Matrix to worry about. They have the barrier to worry about once they actually get up to the high ground too.
Caught out of position here. That is so decisive by Gladiators, but they've been pincered a little bit here. Hybrid's in trouble. They are going to connect him up. The Blizzard's traded out. And it is Gladiators still who have a massive advantage into this. London are committing ultimates into this. They want to try and turn this one around. The sound barrier, the Amp Matrix, everything's being used, but they just don't have the damage.
I suppose what it has done is force out the sound barrier and reply from Moth. So that's opened things up a little bit for London, but they had to use their Amp Matrix there, and Shu has another Amp Matrix. He has another ultimate to be able to work with on the high ground. It was only one team fight ago that Shu was able to initiate with that tool to begin with. Now London Spitfire looking like they want to bait and play towards the stairs control. Sneaking up towards the high ground here. This makes it hard for Shu to get value out of his window.
Swinging around here. Nice wall. It's going to be spilling them up, but booped off the high ground. And yet, the window as well, on top of that, way too much to withstand, I think, when you're trying to push through that staircase. It's one of the most important areas of the map to hold, because it just completely gives the defenders the high ground. Very important. And now, Josh, 50 seconds remaining. So much of this map so far has been Gladiators and London basically just trying to find these tiny weaknesses. Where do we take these team fights? It's the big question whenever you're playing these rush compositions, and Gladiators have a pretty good understanding, I think, a little bit better than London's over the course of this map.
And the aggression that they're able to bring to the table has been so far very good. Gladiators, again, they realize that London are fighting over this staircase, so moves over to try and block it. Great shadow block as well from Muse.
What a bomb!
Moth falls,
Really
but this
well
blizzard
played.
is enormous coming out from Kevster.
Yeah, and it's going to be locking them all into place for them to swing into. Blase immediately falls. Morphig last one standing, 8 seconds remaining. The Gladiators will chase down their prey. And they found what's looking like another map win here against the London Spitfire. They had to work for it, they definitely did. But a 2-0 lead, they're going to be pleased with that. Victory within their sights.
Yeah, this is exactly the rebound that the Gladiators needed. When you think back to Custer's bold prediction, he said it would be a sweep for the LA team.
Did, yeah.
And it's still been a close game, but it is looking like it could go in that direction. Gladiators are back and at least good enough to be able to close it out against the London Spitfire by the look of it. But this match is not over yet. We're only halfway through. And London, we saw with Paris earlier on in the day, these teams that haven't had a chance to play yet in the 2021 season, they sometimes just take a little while to warm up. So after this break, I could see the London Spitfire rebounding.
Yeah, a bit of time to just, collect their nerves, rethink exactly how they're going into this. Obviously, first match of the season, a ton of pressure on these guys' shoulders, and they have been making it difficult for the Gladiators. They're one of our highest seeded teams, I think, coming into this tournament in terms of the community's expectations. But we'll find out how this series really concludes on the other side of this break. Do not go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles. Stay in the game.
Welcome back, everybody, and yes, one of the players of note here, of our Indeed player resume, was of course Reaper, and this guy has been having a, I think as well, it's coming back into the league, playing against, you know, your former team as well, a lot to prove on the line, but ultimately, a lot of it does rely off the back of his individuals as well. I think in the rush composition, his role, vitally important in terms of timings when it comes to like mortality fields, that sort of aspect of the game.
That's very true, yeah. I mean, the Batiste is a core component of the rush compositions right now. We've seen in the past teams play these kind of comps with Lucio Moira. I actually know that this there was an interview with Christopher recently, who's the coach of, or one of the coaches, of the Philadelphia Fusion, who've been doing very well over in the APAC region. And he said he had an inkling that over in NA, Lucio Moira would start to become more viable. That hasn't become, or maybe not more viable, but more meta. It would start to get used more often. And that doesn't appear to be the case right now, at least. Over on the Gladiators side, if we're talking about support lines though, Skewed is subbing in for Moth here, which indicates to me, Brent, that the Gladiators want to play more of a double bubble style. This is their comp, or this is their roster rather, when they like to run that Ana Brigitte backline. And on the other side, for London, we've got Shax coming in for Blase, which again, to me, indicates that they're going for double hit scan here. They want to play more of the double bubble style of comp, which we're going on to Volskaya. I was wondering, actually, whether Spitfire would be the kind of team to try and force rush on this map. I felt like some of the European teams that we hadn't seen as yet might try and force that style on maps like Blizzard World and maps like Volskaya, where it's not usual to play that, but it is possible.
Yes, I was definitely wondering that as well. But it seems like, obviously, with the substitutions, what you've alluded to is that it's probably not going to be the case. We're going to see both of these teams playing more towards these double bubble styles. And Volskaya is a map where you can definitely try and play the rush comp. I mean, we've seen teams do it, we've seen teams force it as well in some cases, and it works out for them every now and then. But not these two teams, at least that's our speculation leading into this. And remember, it's a do-or-die situation for the London Spitfire. They've got to win this map to stay in the series, and it's honestly a vital one. Even outside of that fact, I think their chances of success, if they do win Volskaya, are going to go up tremendously to taking us to that fifth map, I think, as well. Or you could say go onto the other shoe as well, because it is King's Row as the fourth map. And I think both of these teams are probably more comfortable, I think, playing these kind of rush comps. Maybe Gladiators slightly more comfortable playing the double bubble.
For the first time ever, it will actually be accurate for us to say there's a home field advantage for London if they play on King's Row. Because they actually have Hybrid, a UK DPS player. So, you know, there is a storyline there, but they would have to win on Volskaya to get, or at least draw on Volskaya, to get us into that situation in the first place. And for the Gladiators, it looks like they might be coming out with this ball composition, which I was not expecting. I thought we were going to see double bubble here.
That is such a...
Yeah. I mean, they might just be scouting, but it looks like they want to play this poke comp. The last time they played this, and Jonathan did a breakdown of some of it too, the coordination between Muse and Kevster and the backline and the front line wasn't quite there. They weren't playing the comp well as a team. This time though, Muse and Kevster very quickly taking control of that left-hand side and a very early punish on Shax.
Instant recontest there. You can see that it's going to be the traded out kills.
Look at Shu.
Skewed going down,
so
and Shu goes down.
I mean, Shu was literally not even in the same zip code as them. He was miles away.
He was also on the Mega Health pack, probably playing towards the rest of his team, assumed he was going to be safe. But when Skewed goes down, it's, you know, one of your safety nets is removed.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with this backline, is it's extremely squishy.
It's given the Gladiators an opportunity to rethink now. London's still holding up in this choke point. You can see them just waiting for an opportunity to dive in, and they've chosen now, right here. You can see the protected barrier was applied, as well as to keep Hardy safe. It's very split up at the moment. The Gladiators searching for opportunity. Shax now on the Tracer, might try and contest Kevster a little bit here. Zipping away, just about gets out with his life. The follow-up wasn't there. Shax needs some healing though, falling quite low. So far, we're at 2.5 minutes, Josh, and only now are we seeing the first approach towards the point.
Yeah, not much happening. Just a lot of posturing, trying to get their players in good positions. Now that the backline is through the choke point, though, and space is on the point, the Gladiators are looking pretty decent. That's a good pulse bomb to take down the long-range hit scan, but Shax replies with his own.
Shax evens it out, but he's got to go huge here. With Hattie going down, and Birdering on the high ground, just pumping in that damage from the high ground is really, you have to dislodge him. It looks like they're just backing off. The disengage comes out from London. I mean, Shax is in there. He's ready and waiting. They might be looking to recontest this one.
They could be.
Okay.
If they can coordinate something here, there's definitely potential. London have a lot of
Here we
ults.
go. To the back line, you can see them falling very, very low, but it's Kellex who's the one who goes down. The Transcendence was forced out from Shu. That was all that pressure being applied to that back line. Birdering falling so low, but eventually does get healed up. The point will flip in their favor. Now the Gladiators with 4.5 minutes to work with, just pushing into checkpoint B.
They're doing a good job of pressuring Shax. When he goes for the backline, there's often a Discord orb on him. Kev's still looking to try and man-mark him, and the backline of Shu and Scoot themselves are trying to make sure that this star tracer player for the London Spitfire doesn't just win the game single-handedly. We've seen Shax do it last season. There were so many times where Shax just took control of a game. This time around, though, they're trying to stop it. Malfig with a big grab. This is one of the big advantages of running this area, is that they have this team fight win opportunity to combine it up with the pulse bomb. But otherwise, just the bubbles onto Hadi are so good to stop Brigitte bashes or the rocks from being impactful. There it goes again, just gives Hadi all the space in the world. But on the other side, it's Hybrid actually that's fallen again, opening the door for the Gladiators.
And you can definitely tell the discomfort here from London, playing this composition. The coordination just isn't quite there. The grab comes through, Transcendence as well. London are all healthy, but they wait it out, they stave it off. And now the Gladiators are leading back in, trying to hunt for a pick-off if they can get it. The beatdown, Kellex will fall. Malfig might be next here into the Mega Health Pack room, going very low. Slid off by the shield as well. Find Shax trying to even it out. The pulse bomb connects onto space, takes him out. Not a bad scenario to be in, and now Shax is just trying to eye up his next target. 2 ticks now for the Gladiators. They have to try and start to contest this one. If the London want a shot, they're trying to hold on. Transcendence forced. Shu's going to be just backing off. Not really getting too much done with it.
There is constant pressure on this Gladiators backline whenever they try and get towards the objective. Look at that, coordination from Hardy.
Oh my goodness.
Discord orb on him.
He's so low.
This is the push and the pull. Again, Hybrid falls though, getting way too aggressive there. I don't know why he was positioned that far forwards in the team fight, just trying to follow up on the dive from Hardy and Shax. But instead, everyone on London has fallen so weak.
And Kev's up with the stick as well. You described it just then, Josh, the push and the pull of the composition. It's knowing when you can go in, use your resources and to apply a bit of damage, but also you need to understand when to disengage. And this is the thing that's been catching London out just ever so slightly. And Gladiators, obviously, they have veterans in almost every single role. And they're able to just smell the blood in the water. They spot the weaknesses out, that push and pull. The double bubble comp, or not even the double bubble, it's like running this this wrecking ball kind of dive-esque with the Zen and the Brig and the backline. It really does, I think, fit to some of the Gladiators' great strengths, I think. You really are putting some of your heaviest hitters in roles where they're finding the most impact. And it's showcased here against the London Spitfire.
Yeah, it's theoretically a great composition for them. Like I say, it's not something that they played very well last week. So seeing them be able to tighten up some of that coordination is necessary. If you're a Gladiators fan and you're looking at them recovering, getting 2-2 by the end of this week and making it into the May Melee Qualifiers, that really is what you're looking for here. Is not necessarily just a win, but they have to win and look good doing it. And so far there, the Gladiators on that offensive round, they were slow and methodical, but they actually seemed like they were trying to focus on tightening up their play. The coordination between Kevstra and Muse looked a bit better than it did last week. The way that their backline moved around the map still looked pretty good, and the way that they were peeling for their backline too. So, some signs of positivity here for Gladiators fans to take away.
Absolutely, yeah. I think definitely resounding improvements. People definitely need to be looking at the Gladiators as well. Expectations were for this team to be honestly competing with the very, very top in North America. And the Norton 2 start was not great for them. So if they're able to close out this series here and get one win on the board, it's at least, you know, a bit of a salvage operation happening. Still, Kevstra goes down early. This is the attacking side of the Spitfire, but the counter dive comes through as Muse with the power driver takes out Reaper. A lot of damage being applied to Birdring as he's pressured out of position, forced off the high ground, and now Muse just trying to man mark Hardy, just take him out of the fight, make sure that he can't really get any sort of that disruption going.
The good coordination from London on their engage, where they had the Tracer try to pressure the backline, and then the ball come through afterwards. But the Gladiators have just stayed together and tried to really punish London's less mobile characters, let's say. So when Kelix and Ripper are trying to come through this choke point and move around the left-hand side, when Molfig is trying to get in, the Gladiators are putting a significant focus on stopping them, on punishing them, putting a lot of poke damage into them, so that even if they lose Birdring, Hybrid isn't in the good position to capitalize on that. Reaper isn't in position to capitalize. Here goes London again, though, trying to get their ball and their Tracer, advanced positions.
They've got them at least in a flank. But it's
Yeah,
trying to use that. You can look at the Gladiators.
Yeah, look at the Gladiators. That's what I'm saying, is that when part of the London Spitfire is able to get in through the choke point, the Gladiators are pushing aggressively and stopping the rest of the team. They're essentially driving a wedge through the middle of London, and it's working really well so far. I think for London, they need to be conscious of that. And then Hardy and Jax, when they get into those positions, maybe need to be trying to create a distraction on the back. If they can try and punish Birdring, or maybe get a dive onto Shu, force out that ult, it could open up opportunities. On the other hand, when Molfig has his ult available, they can actually bait that aggression in and maybe try to catch it in a flux. But London have been slow to get up to these ults. We're talking 2 minutes, and most of their players are not close.
This is really hard for London. Gladiators now with a huge ult bank to try and stop them here at this choke point. See Shaxx trying to make a play. If he can take down Birdring in the back line, it could be good for them. The Birdring's being peeled for. Shu goes down. Wonderful little play happening here as Hardy ends up getting the 2-piece. And Muse lays down the mines at the choke point to try and turn this fight around in their favor. Molfig falling. Reaper using the Transcendence to keep his team alive and also clear the mines through the choke point. And opening.
Now I'm worried about that here.
There.
Oh, that's so crucial. Kevster falling means that they don't really have that player to contest the objective as easily. The Gladiators have ults to work with, but it's going to be hard for them to be able to get back in. They do catch Hybrid, though.
Ton of damage. Great mechanics there from Space, but Bob does get let loose just before Hybrid goes down. See the damage and the point just being pressured heavily here. Space ends up using that grass just to take in a lot of the damage. Shaxx goes in with the pulse bomb, and Skewed is the one who's going to be falling. Wonderful Olukavidic Flux, the London Spitfire. Just punishing the aggression as the Gladiators attempted to recontest this one. All being caught up out of position. 2 ticks, nobody on the point. Birdring still on the high ground. No one's really dealing with this one, but Space eventually taken down. If Hardy's mechanics are clean, he should be able to deal with Birdring, and indeed he does. 26 health remaining.
Not even close. Hardy's going to get healed up. That's going to provide actually ult charge for Reaper moving into this final objective too. He's going to go from 60 to 70%, and they might be in a decent position to capitalize off this. A minefield, a trance, if they can find an opening pick or at least some positioning, the London Spitfire could be in a decent, have a decent chance of being able to close this one out.
Oh yeah.
What I'm looking at is the fight on the flank between the Tracers. It's Jax and Kevster trying to battle, and the Balls are getting involved as well. This fight for positioning is so crucial. The attacking team wants that location.
Space on the high ground, you can see him just offloading constant damage. Hardy messes up his rollout. He tried to boop Space off, goes for the power driver, but look at this, the battle of the Wrecking Balls. Hardy almost getting locked up out of position here. Kevster finding the kill onto Shaxx. With the help of, presumably with the help of some of his teammates.
That's going to call the disengage for the London Spitfire. Yeah. You can see how much of the fight is based around this left-hand side. They want to get Space off the high ground, and that either means push the ball and the Tracer away and fight Space, or see if you can get a boop and capitalize off that. Kevster has a pulse bomb, and he's looking for the backline here. If he could force out an early Transcendence on Ripper, that would be magical.
Yeah. Instead, he's going to be opting to just, again, take part in this fight that's for this flank control. It's so important as well. The big reason for it is because they're just trying to take it away from Space as well, who's just essentially sitting pretty. No one is really able to dislodge him. See the mines come through. Teams are now, it's a slow posture from either side. London's just trying to find their advantage. Yeah, Kevster finding a stick. What is that? Comes through, forces out the Transcendence, and it's going to be big. Transcendence not going to be there anymore, and it's going to be the free Gravitic Flux coming through. Kellex lands on the moving platform, and he's going to be gliding his way to safety. Still, the Gladiators pushing forwards. They sense that they are weak, and they're able to find a lot of pickoffs. Finding the advantage in a moment of weakness that they spotted. Not too bad at all. Now they're going to be just tempering it back.
That's what I was talking about all that time ago when Kevster first got the Pulse Bomb. He finally found that opportunity from the back. Sneaky little devil, gets into the back line, forces out the Trance, and it gives a free Flux opportunity for space. All of that damage capitalized on in the team fight, and now the London Spitfire have a minute left. And eventually they're just going to have to go for this and ignore the fact that Shu and Space are in such great positions. Looks like now's the time.
Yep, Bob going to be coming through. Look at this contest as well. Birdering just being really just having a hard time of it in the back line. Who's going to be okay, Shield Bash into the Accretion, so he was stunned up and they collect the kill, but the Gladiators are coming back in with the ultimates as the Transcendence is going to be pushing them back. A huge healing advantage means that the London Spitfire cannot hold on. 30 seconds remaining, they just about disengage, but the trouble is now, if the Gladiators opt to just hold forward, which looks like they're doing, London are not going to have many opportunities to contest.
And there's always the risk that Birdring just whaps somebody's head off in the middle of this team fight too. Birdring's got that Sigma shield. Seeing if he can get any kills, any poke damage as well. And Hardy's set up for this. They know what they need to do. The contest of the objective. Space does not have the high ground anymore because they went for that aggressive play. There's a whip shot. Doesn't quite stop Hardy from contesting. Kevster! He kills himself with his own pulse bomb.
He got down Morphic though, and he set up Muse for the mine. Shax desperate to try and pull out some heroics. The Pulse Bomb was laid down and takes out Space, but Hardy will be next. The Shoes lays down again, even more damage. Shax has to find this kill on the Shoe. Are you kidding me? It's a 3-piece for him. They might just be turning this. Right in the moment, the Transcendence is going to be coming out now to heal up the London Spitfire. And the players coming off the back of the respawns, starting to contest this. Gravitic Flux into the back line, only connects into the one target, but one might be just enough. Space being pressured to grasp, not enough. Kellex mailing him through the wheel, or through the shield, through the grasp as well. Gladiators coming back off the respawns. A better advantage into this next fight with the rally, and that is going to do it. It was looking almost turned, but not quite enough. The Gladiators, far too strong. They're going to be taking the series in the 3-0 fashion.
Well played by the Gladiators towards the end there. Forcing out Ripper's Transcendence again. Offering a free Flux to Space again. And they managed to find that pick that they need to turn it around and secure the series. Turns out Scott is the parable on the desk today. He predicted it. His bold prediction, it was going to be the clean sweep for the Gladiators. And I mean, talking about it being clean is maybe giving perhaps a little too little credit to the London Spitfire because they made some of those rounds close. But at the end of the day, the Gladiators were the better team on all three of those maps.
Yeah, and I think all of our expectations were, at least, I mean, I predicted the London Spitfire, had a lot of faith in them. But overall, I think the community's expectations for the Gladiators was that they were, you know, definitely the favorites in this series. And they showcased, I think, a tremendous amount of improvement from last week to this week. Necessary improvement. Because if they want to be calling themselves a top team in North America, these are the matches you need to win. And they've done just that. It's a really important milestone for them, to be honest with you. And a big part of the reason why it was all possible was, of course, our player of the match presented by Xfinity. I'm going to be giving it this week, or this match, I should say, to Birdring. The guy was a tremendous force of nature, I think, against a lot of what the London Spitfire were trying to do. On the Ash, he was honestly popping off. Various clutch moments and able to shut down and opening picks as well to make some team fights very, very winnable in the process.
Yeah, on some of the maps it felt like a battle between the Tracers, but when it came down to the long-range hit scan or the McCrees, it felt like Birdring was just getting value. Value, value, value. He's able to get himself into good positions, and that coordination with the front line was really lacking last week. But it seemed like this time around they tightened up some of their coordination and communication issues. Of course, it's always hard to say how much the Gladiators have really improved, how much the Birdring and the coordination, how much the entire system has improved when they aren't tested and taken to the limit against another team that we're really expecting to be at the top of North America. But at the end of the day, this is a must-win game for the Gladiators, for Birdring. He had to show up with a playoffs-level performance, and he was able to get it through this time. The Gladiators on their way to a 2-2. performance by the end of the week.
Yeah, and I cannot stress enough how important that first win is for a team in the Overwatch League. It's really the thing that gets a lot of momentum, I think, pushed forward now for them in the rest of the qualifiers. Now they have one more match, I believe, until we lead into it, and again, another must-win. On the other side as well of the break that we've got an interview with Moff as well, so you've got that to look forward to as well. You get a bit of a look at the inner workings of the Gladiators and how they have managed it, this sort of comeback as well. Again, congratulations to the Gladiators. We're going to be going to a short break. On the other side of it, like I said, even more watch point action on top of the interview with Moff. So don't go anywhere, guys. Even more Overwatch League coming up.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Watchpoint Pre-Show presented by ዄIBM. We're joined here now by Moth from Los Angeles Gladiators. Moth, hello!
Hi.
Hi. Alright, let's just jump right into the question. You are a two-time champion joining one of the predicted best teams in the league, but you guys are down 0-2. You guys were down 0-2 in week 1. As someone not accustomed to losing, how did you guys and the team come back from this sort of rocky start?
Yeah, it was really disappointing not being able to play up to the level we expected last week. But going forward, I think this win against London will give us a lot more confidence and we'll be able to play to the level we expect and get a lot more wins this season.
Okay, was there something specific that you guys did after your week 1 coming into today's match?
We just kept our heads down and reviewed how we played and fixed all of our problems. I think a lot of it could be attributed to first match jitters as well, but I think as a team I'm really confident we'll have a great performance this season.
Okay, alright, thank you. And also, given that, we haven't seen the London Spitfire play prior to today, did you have a good idea of what they will roll out with? Did you have any expectations?
Not really. They surprised us a lot, especially that first map. They rolled out with a comp we really didn't expect. So we had to talk a lot during the match to figure out how they were playing and how best we could counter it.
Alright, okay. Thank you so much, Moth, and again, congratulations on your win today. And let's head back to the desk.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Moth, and of course Danny as well. Yeah, this is the Gladiators we all thought we were gonna get at the very start of the season, and I'm very happy to see they're coming back from that 0-2 start heading into week number 2. Now, let's take a quick look at today's result just to catch you all up in case you missed all the action earlier. Paris went up against Vancouver and boy, was that a match! That was a bit of a brawl. Let's be honest here. I think this just kind of came down to individuals such as ɁIBM and Khan popping off and winning those team fights. It was a brawl again.
It was a slobber knocker. Is that the correct term to use there? I mean, the first match.
Slobber what? Slobber what?
Don't even let me repeat. I don't even want to repeat the word, Danny. Okay, we're moving on.
Okay, alright.
But the first map, what was the statistics here? Vancouver was 42-6 in final goals or something on the first map. Yep. It was ridiculous. It was just a stomp. Vancouver Titans just came out and stomped the Paris Eternal. And me and Customer were just shell shocked behind the scenes. We're just what is happening? Danny and so we're gonna be right again. But it changed pace throughout the series. We move over to Gibraltar, we see both teams trying to play this Winston competition, and it surprised me how well the Paris Eternal played to this Winston competition. Obviously, only got a McCree, big impact player. Khan as well playing that on, he had a lot of input. So that was the sort of the turning point of series. That is when the Paris Eternal came alive, and then on Hanamura, they started playing the Reiner composition like me and Costa expected them to. And then it was an hour of Hanamura, and then they sort of won the series. That's the best recap I could give you. It was a long series.
If you didn't watch anything else, that'll do the whole thing. But I completely agree with Johnny. The thing that I really liked is when we talked to Neptuno, and he says, we aren't just sticking to our strength, only playing the brawl, we've been practicing everything. And we saw that on Gibraltar. They were a much more polished team coming up against the Vancouver Titans in that double bubble style, I do want to isolate someone. Soy did a good job of, Soy was. ₦IBM and Khan had a phenomenal game. I do want to highlight Khan. He had a great, Adan, That's going to be really confusing. He had a great series. He hit some nutty shatters throughout the entirety of Hanamura, and he did a great job. He does need to learn when to pull back a little bit, though. He got isolated a couple times, gave Vancouver Titans a little bit of a window to come back into that series, and it could have gone either way. So against better teams, he's going to need to check himself.
Yeah, I'm very interested to just generally see what we can expect from those teams moving forward. But we had a second game of the day, and that one had the Gladiators came out on top with a very convincing 3-0 against the London Spitfire. And I mean, this is that really important W they needed on the board, guys.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's one of those situations where I said it on the bold prediction. I was expecting the Gladiators to take that weekend and then build upon it, and they looked so much better. Obviously, weaker opponents than the Shock and the Dallas Fuel, but nonetheless, they were disengaging, they were re-engaging, they weren't just all over the place. They were working together, coordinating their ults better, and they just looked like a much better team today. Very well-oiled machine. But I do want to give props to London Spitfire. You can see it's there. They just need to really find some situations. I feel like Huddy unfortunately had a pretty weak game. Just getting isolated, so many deaths. But, you know, Shaq's on that Tracer. Still a recipe for success no matter what teams he's on. And I think they can come back from this against a really strong Gladiators.
Yeah, it just looked tough.
It just looked tough. Sometimes it be like that, Reinforce. Based on the looks we saw today of the Paris as well as the London Spitfire, would you personally change them anywhere where you had them in the rating moving into next week, or would you think they're sitting comfortable where they are?
I mean, I thought highly of the London Spitfire coming into this, and I don't mean highly as in like top 5 or.
I mean, you had them winning, so.
League average. I thought they could take advantage of a weak LA Gladiators, but I was pretty disappointed with what I saw from them. I don't think you should read too much into it though. Like Moth even mentioned it as well in his interview that, you know, you could even credit it to like, you know, first match nerves or something. You know, it wasn't the performance they really wanted to show in their first match. I think the London Spitfire as well didn't really show what they were capable of in this match against the LA Gladiators. They looked a bit shaky. Their team fights fell apart like in the middle of them. You know, you come into a team fight, you have a plan, what you want to do, how you want to execute. And you come out and you do that initial thing, but then everything just like all over the place. You know, someone rotates to the other side of the map, etc. So they just fell apart in the middle of team fights for London Spitfire. Not really the coordination I expected, but I think they'll improve with some more experience under their belt.
I'm just happy that Gladiators aren't Sadiators anymore.
Yeah, I think you speak for the entirety of every Gladiators fan out there. So yeah, this is a good look for the Gladiators, and of course some bright moments from the London Spitfires as well, which should get every London Spitfire fan excited to cheer for them moving forward. Now, I think it's time to, you know, walk it back once more and take a look at our predictions today, because you win some and you lose some.
Oh,
ain't that
baby.
right, Reinforce?
Woohoo! Ain't that true? Woohoo! 1-1 crew, let's go!
Yo, I'm back.
The first one was a coin toss, though. Let's be real. The first one was a coin toss. Like, you cannot.
Hey, you see that? You see that?
Coin toss.
I'm not giving.
Yeah, no. Honestly, the first one was a coin. No, I agree. That was a coin toss.
Okay,
Like, you know, it was 50-50.
So when we lose, it's really obvious, and it was obviously that team. But when you lose, it's a coin toss. No one could have predicted either way.
I
What is
think you
this?
understand the system.
Precisely, precisely. Hey, I'm still on top. I'm a 7-3.
Yeah,
all of you guys are 6-4.
by what margin, Danny? It's just 1 point.
1 point. You never know.
We're coming. Yeah, we're all coming for you.
All right, come at me.
This is the first time I'm even with the rest of the desk too. Costa, Reinforce. I'm so used to being way ahead of you. Like this feels different.
Yeah, welcome to the bottom. It's not.
Welcome to the bottom.
Johnny, this is supposed to be different.
Comfy.
Hey, yeah.
From here.
Yeah, how are you guys? How are you guys doing up down there? How are you guys doing down there?
There's no pressure.
Air is a little different, you know. Well, as we recover from taking a look at our predictions, we will take a quick moment to head into a short break, and then afterwards we are back with our best moments of the day. So don't go anywhere.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
we're back to the Watchpoint Post Show presented by IBM, and would you look at that? It is time for the Xfinity
Speed Boost! Yeah, oh, my hand.
I guess we're going with it. Not the best one we had so far. However, the speed boost was pretty impressive.
Alright, this might seem counterintuitive because it did feel like an hour, as Johnny said, but the attacks were blisteringly fast, a great word right there, on Hanamura. I don't know if it was bad offense, bad defense, good offense, a little bit of both. We saw some Metro. We honestly saw everything. We saw, tanks going down, we saw DPS going down, but the number one thing is they were just getting all the points. I can't remember the last time we saw an 11-point Hanamura. I wanted to get the records, but the stats people said it wasn't possible, so I'm just winging it at this point and saying it was a world record. So 11 points in Overwatch League world record is a world record for us on the broadcast, so it was sweet, and that is the speed boost for this week.
I like that was bold. I like it.
Yeah.
Dropping world records right there. And I mean, no one can prove you otherwise except from everyone.
Yeah.
So there's that. But hey, it's just on tape. It's fine. Now, guys, I think it's time for best of the day. And there were plenty to choose from, honestly. There were lots of pop-off performances, lots of fun moments on the broadcast, lots of interesting things happening across the board. And I'm going to kick things off with Onigod, being an actual god. Who would have thought? I'm very, very happy to see him performing the way he does right now because, quite frankly, he didn't get to see that much playtime, of course, when he was picked up, and there was also DK. And then he had to step it up for DK, and it was like all sorts of miserable. But today he just showed, like, this is why some people call him one of the best EU hitscan players. Like, he is a phenomenal player, and if you give him the space, he'll take it, and he'll make good use of it. And I think there were a lot of moments which made him actually, the star of the show. He was the reason they won a lot of those team fights and potentially also maps.
Yeah, absolutely. It was good to see him pop off.
True.
He
was really good.
Hard shoes to fill when he was on Decay, but now he has to be one of those primary hit scans for Paris Eternal. Showed up, and that's what he needs to do.
Amen.
All right, my best of the day was, so we said that Onigod was an actual god, but I want to go against that because...
Oh no, you won't do him like that. You're gonna do him that dirty?
No, that was it. He did play well, but I don't know if you guys remember, but on Eichenwalde. There you go. All right. I think there's a clip where Onigod dropped. Did we already see it? We passed it. I think we passed it.
Oh, no.
See it again.
There it is.
There we go. Yep, right there.
Oh,
yeah, so I think this goes to see, we could see that pro players are mortal, everybody. They're human beings. They make mistakes too.
Wow. I like Evil Danny. Let's bring Evil Danny back more often over there.
That's just mean. Very relatable content though. Like that's the most relatable of anything I saw in game. Like this is me in a nutshell.
That happens to me all the time.
All right, my best of the day. It's just I'm back, baby. Last weekend we had a nightmare in predictions. I then just tagged onto to Danny, but this weekend I went for my own. 2-0. I'm back. I'm coming for the throne of you, Danny. I'm leaving Johnny in the dust once again in this season.
Wow. Once again. We were both down in the bog last year,
I was about to say you were even in the bottom.
We were both like holding hands, like drowning in the swamp.
No, that doesn't ring a bell. I don't remember that at all. That's not it.
Unbelievable. He's leaving me hanging like this. Well, no, Danny's curse is broken. But here we have the new Costa curse. Unreal.
Costa curse!
I can't believe it. Hot take, LA Gladiators 3-0. No. Come on. Like, you're getting away with murder here. This is not a bold prediction to go 3-0. Gladiators are the favorite. They're, of course, the better team. They came in with Scrimbox #1 in N8, some people. This is an amazing team. And you say 3-0 against the Lone Spitfire. This is a curse. This is a curse. Every time Costa predicts something bold, it will therefore happen because it doesn't actually give bold predictions.
What do you? Yeah, it was not a bold prediction.
You can't say it's not bold and then go for the London Spit. Hello, is anybody remembering?
I went for an upset.
That's bold.
Okay.
Upset.
Yeah, he was bold. He's bold. You're not bold, Costa.
Yeah,
you're not bold. You're not bold.
And yes, I understand. I understand that you got Bren's seal of approval, whatever that means for you. But
Nice.
that was not, as Johnny said, that was not a bold prediction. They were the clear favorites coming into this.
You guys do it next time then, okay? I'm done with bold predictions for the season. Done. You guys show me what you got. I'm 1 from 1.
All right.
All I'm saying is, Costa, after the season, you're gonna be making bold predictions because we're getting rid of that hair, buddy.
That was actually so clever. Congratulations.
No, it wasn't.
Did you
No, it actually was.
Don't encourage me.
I'll give him that one.
Were you thinking about that joke the whole time?
I think he had it pre-planned. It's probably written down somewhere. Speaking of written down, of course, we want to take a look at the standings right now and keep in mind once more that the points they're collecting in these first 2 weeks are going towards the May Melee tournaments. 4 matches will be played per team, and those are basically the qualifiers, and then afterwards we go by map differential to determine which teams will actually make it into that tournament. So, anything standing out for you guys?
Well, for the Mayhem.
Well.
That's the team I'm going to point out. They didn't play today, but 2-0, if you add another one to that, you're 3-0, and then you're potentially looking at a qualification to May Melee. This is a team that a lot of people, they weren't really thinking about, going into the season, but proving their strength once more, 2-0, top of the standing.
And that was math with Johnny. 2 + 1 = 3. The thing that I just want to see, I want to see Washington Justice just play a game. They have an absolutely star-studded roster. That's all I want to see. It's coming up this weekend. If you are not hyped for it, you should very much get hyped for to see them play.
I'm actually excited about Houston too. Houston Outlaws, they're playing tomorrow, and I want to see if if they could actually have that same gameplay that they had against San Francisco Shock last week.
I mean, honestly, if they can take down a team like the Shock, tomorrow they will face off against the Paris Eternal. Very doable, very winnable. Houston Outlaws could be one of the absolute top teams coming out of these qualifying games, so that is very, very exciting. So here is Saturday's schedule. We kick things off with the Outlaws taking on the Eternal. Afterwards, a first look at the Boston Uprising. I'm very excited to see that. They will face off against the LA Gladiators, and then all of Costa's wishes will be coming true as the Washington Justice takes on the Dallas Fuel. Which one of those gets you hyped? I mean, Costa, for you, it's a Washington game, right?
I don't even need to say anything. Just look at that. Washington versus Dallas is going to be sick.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Costa, if you need a bold pick tomorrow, by the way, Houston over Paris, that's up your alley.
Yeah, bold pick.
Okay, man. Okay, you're doing the bold prediction tomorrow. Okay, I don't want to hear any more of this from you.
All right, cool. So we just had someone sign himself up for bold predictions tomorrow. Congratulations. Reinforced, Costa, you are relieved of the burden to be bold.
Let's go.
We, of course, also have our Eastern games popping up overnight. So in case you want to watch at 5 a.m. ET or 2 a.m. PT, we're going to kick things off with the Chengdu Hunters taking on the NYXL. Afterwards, the Philadelphia Fusion go up against the Spark. Well, these are going to be hard to predict, honestly. I struggle to make proper predictions for these.
Yeah, well, seriously though, Chengdu Hunters obviously started out 2-0 last week, looked really good, but going up against the New York Excelsior, who we haven't seen yet this season. I think strongly of this New York Excelsior roster, especially in this meta with Hitscan and Senyara. I mean, you got Jonak and 4 fantastic DPS players on this New York roster. I'm actually predicting a New York win here over Chengdu, but
no,
that's going to be a bang of a match.
No, don't predict NYXL over Chengdu. We talked about it. Didn't you say you wanted to get out of the bottom? You're gonna fall even lower. Come on, Johnny.
Well, it's not official.
But you get out. You get out of the bottom by making bold predictions. That's the only way to take over.
True.
Yeah, you're right. You win this battle.
Yeah.
You win this. All right, honestly, I want to see the Spark play. I have been pretty critical of the Spark in the off-season. I just want to see if they can prove us wrong, but I am a little worried about them, whether or not they're going to be able to hit that peak that we saw them, way back when in Season 2.
Danny, are you living in the Chengdu zone as well, or are you believing in NYXL?
No, Chengdu zone. I think NYXL is going to enter the Chengdu zone and get Chengdu'd.
Yeah, it just happens. It can happen to anyone. If you're not being careful out there, you get Chengdu and you're it goes down this weird place and just Chengdu things. But they have been looking good. Let's see if they can keep it up in their matches overnight. Of course, we will discuss the results early in the morning at 11:30. It's not actually that early, but for us, it's So gaming hours. Anyway, that's it. It's too early. That's it from us here at the Watchpoint Post Show presented by IBM. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here once again for another day of matches. We will be back for week 2, day 2 tomorrow at 11:30 PST. That's right. That's the time zone we're in, and we hope to see you again then.
Bye, everybody. Bye, guys. Bye.
Breadsticks, yes.
Listen, if they manage to win this map, they're going to get breadsticks. I don't exactly know how it works.
I don't think
as soon as they win Eichenwald, I think they just spawn breadsticks. I
don't think they get the breadsticks. I think the breadsticks gets given out to fans.
Sure,
but I might be wrong.
Well, anyway, someone gets breadsticks. It's baguettes versus breadsticks right now. It's the bread bowl. That's what we've got in front of us. Eichenwald, the battle of the bread.
Yeah, the battle of the bread. All the bread enthusiasts hoping, praying that this goes to a map 5.
Please give me my gluten. Please give me my gluten here on Eichenwald. Vancouver Titans in control of point A, one step closer to unlocking the breadsticks. I don't know whether they're focused on the match win, but I'm focused on the breadsticks.
A little bit disappointing because the Vancouver Titans, again, not going to be getting those breadsticks.
No breadsticks.
Once again, no breadsticks. I mean, we got the bread bowl, but we didn't get the breadstick.
Yeah, we got baguettes instead, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just astounding bakery skills, I think, coming out from Paris as well. I mean, they're really, really well known for it. Anyway, got an interview for you as well. We've got Paris, or not Paris, I should